including for outstanding live breaking news coverage. Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news. You've never seen anything like this before.
Here it is. I mean, that's incredible.
This place is going to astonish you.
What is that? Oh my gosh.
America's most beautiful natural wonders.
Wow! This is breathtaking.
Whoa, that is pretty amazing.
ABC News and Nat Geo.
This is extraordinary.
In search of
7 Natural Wonders of America, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Now you can listen to a podcast version of 2020, available free wherever you listen.
It's really remarkable.
I just love my job.
The Devil Wears Prada 2, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
This is what you need to know.
We'll take you straight to where news is happening
and give you what you need to know all in under 10 minutes.
The top stories, latest headlines,
what everyone's talking about.
What you need to know, all in under 10 minutes.
New episodes streaming every day.
Only on Disney Plus.
Reporting from Miami on Raul Castro's indictment, I'm Pierre Thomas. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Tonight on ABC News Live, Prime, a suspect is now under arrest in Washington State, accused of setting the largest of 3 devastating wildfires there. Home after home destroyed. Businesses also leveled after tens of thousands were forced to evacuate. And tonight, the growing concerns about poor air quality from Seattle to Denver.
I'm Alex Stone in Spokane, Washington, where an arson suspect is under arrest and has appeared in court.
And tonight, primary voters in 5 states head to the polls. The pivotal midterm elections now just 3 months away. We'll bring you ABC News Live special coverage. Your voice, your vote, 2026. The important votes coming in from Michigan, Kansas, Missouri, Virginia, and Washington.
I'm Jay O'Brien in Michigan with the critical Senate race that's exposed deep divisions in the Democratic Party with serious implications for November.
The very personal battle erupting on Capitol Hill. Senator Bernie Moreno from Ohio unloads on Congressman and former son-in-law Max Miller over allegations of domestic abuse. Moreno today called the ordeal the 7th level of hell. 24 hours after President Trump gave Iran a last chance, an Iranian spokesperson says the talks with Oman to reopen the Strait of Hormuz have been positive. The Trump administration also signaling the U.S. could soon have a deal with Iran.
I'm Matt Rivers in Amman, Jordan, where this entire region is on edge, awaiting word on the potential deal to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
And tonight, our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, brings us stories from Iran, Lebanon, and Israel. Children, in their own words, detailing what wartime life is like for them.
It's not necessary to do this, to kill people, so many people. It's not the right thing to do.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is Prime with Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with a disturbing turn in the devastating wildfires that have already burned more than 10,000 acres in and around Spokane, Washington. Now authorities say the largest fire was deliberately started by a convicted killer. Spokane sheriffs arrested 37-year-old Aaron Farinacci today and charged him with arson. He was released from prison in 2020 after serving time for manslaughter in Arizona. Farinacci was spotted Saturday kneeling in the grass on the side of the road by a Good Samaritan who then called 911, adding insult to injury for the hundreds of residents who've lost it all.
You know, you could make sense of it when it was an act of God somehow, but now that it's arson, someone did this to our family, and that's hard to wrap our brains around.
With 99 large fires burning in 14 states, a massive amount of unhealthy smoke is choking many areas. Air quality alerts are in effect from Seattle to Denver. ABC's Alex Stone is in Spokane and leads us off tonight.
The images are horrific. Families running for their lives as flames closed in, homes engulfed. And tonight, authorities say one of the most destructive wildfires in the history of Washington state was deliberately set by a convicted killer. Spokane Sheriff's deputies taking 37-year-old Aaron Farinacci into custody outside of his home late Monday.
It was citizens who were paying attention to their surroundings, being aware and willing to step up and say something that led to the relatively quick apprehension of Mr. Farinacci.
Paul Child says he's the citizen who called police after seeing a suspicious man on the side of the road Saturday.
He was bent over, looking towards, doing something in the grass and towards the tree line area.
The origin of the fire was indeed exactly where the witnesses had seen Mr. Farnacci kneeling in the grass earlier that day.
Oh my God, dude.
The fire's destroying at least 700 homes and other buildings. New video shows a family using their boat to escape the flames, taking refuge in the middle of Lake Spokane. For residents like Chelsea Riley, whose parents' home is now a pile of ashes, news that the fires have been deliberately set hurts.
It changes things. It kind of, you could make sense of it when it was an act of God somehow, but now that it's arson, someone did this to our family, and that's hard to wrap our brains around.
Farnacci is a convict out of the state of Arizona. In 2010, Farnacci pleaded guilty to manslaughter for shooting and killing his father at their home in Mesa, Arizona. He was released from prison in 2020 and is currently a Spokane resident.
Alex Stone joins us now. So, Alex, what's the latest on these charges?
Well, the charge is now being filed, Lindsay, and just today, Farnacci was in front of a judge via Zoom. It was a remote hearing. It was very quick. He did not say much. He only said, "Yes, Your Honor," when asked his name and birth date, and confirmed that those were his name and birth date. $1 million is his bail right now. He's due back in court on Thursday for the next hearing, which will probably be pretty quick as well. But the allegation being that he started this fire, only one of the three, but the most destructive one that ran through all of these neighborhoods. And I can tell you, talking to residents here today, they are angry, saying that it would have been bad had it been power lines that went down or something else. But to know that somebody allegedly deliberately started this fire, this makes them very angry.
You can imagine that, knowing that this was intentional. All right, Alex Stone for us. Thanks so much, Alex. Los Angeles County fire officials have completed their investigation into the cause of the deadly 2025 Eaton fire. The 18-month investigation concluded the fire was caused by sparks from a SoCal Edison transmission tower. The fire killed 19 people, destroyed more than 9,400 homes and businesses. More than 22 square miles were burned. A rep for the company acknowledged last year that their equipment likely played a role in starting the fire. More than 12,000 people are seeking compensation through a program set up by the utility. Turning now to the battleground state of Michigan, where the fight for an open Senate seat features one of the most watched primary races in the country. Progressive Democrats are looking for another key victory against the party's moderates tonight. But could that hurt the party's chances of taking control of the Senate in November? Jay O'Brien joins us with those details.
Tonight in Michigan, voters in the year's most closely watched Senate primary faced with a stark choice that could shape the future of the Democratic Party this November and beyond. Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed, a progressive former state health official, calls himself a capitalist, but he's been embraced by the nation's top Democratic socialists. And he's firing up younger voters, focusing on affordability, the rising cost of living, and speaking out against Israel's war in Gaza.
Shouldn't be this hard to afford a second bag of groceries. Shouldn't be this hard to pay your rent. Shouldn't be this hard to pay your taxes. And know that that money is going to be spent on you rather than to drop bombs on somebody else and their kids.
His rival, Congresswoman Haley Stevens, pitching herself as a folksy and moderate can-do Democrat.
Holy smokes, Grand Rapids! I'm just fired up to be here.
Highlighting her work with former President Obama and her endorsement from Michigan's popular governor, Gretchen Whitmer, saying she's the candidate with the best chance of winning in November.
I am tough as nails when Michigan is being challenged right now. You know, Donald Trump is skirting all around, selling us out to the highest bidder, selling out Michigan. It's not right.
Jay O'Brien joins us now from Michigan. Jay, you're there on the ground in Michigan. What are you hearing from voters?
Lindsay, we've spent days talking to voters, and they do view this as a battle for the soul of the Democratic Party. I spoke with a number of them. Most were in their mid to late 20s, although some in their 30s and 40s as well. And they all focused on this issue of affordability, but they had different ways of picking which candidate best embodied that. One or two told me they do view electability as key here, which sits in that Haley Stevens argument. But there were a number of those younger voters who say they feel that the Democratic Party is just not listening to them, and that's why they threw in for Abdul Al-Sayed, Lindsay.
All right, Jay O'Brien from Michigan. Thanks so much, Jay. Polls have closed in Virginia at this hour, but voters in Michigan's critical Senate primary election are still casting their ballots. Joining us now is Washington Bureau Chief Rick Klein from the Big Board. So, Rick, you'll be tracking the results with us all night. Which races are you going to be watching especially closely?
Yeah, Lindsay, voting in 5 states tonight, as you mentioned, Virginia, where the polls have just closed, and where Jay is right now in the state of Michigan. That is the biggest race, and I'll get to that in a second. But we also have key House races in a number of states. Remember, Democrats just need to flip 3 House seats overall. And after tonight, to take control of the House, after tonight, we're going to basically know who the major players are in those battlegrounds. So that's going to play out quite a bit. The big race is, though, as Jay covered, Abdul El-Sayed versus Haley Stevens. It is the Democratic establishment in Stevens up against the progressive wing in Abdul El-Sayed. The question about electability, a real one, and the stakes very big for Democrats. Democrats need to flip 4 seats to take control of the Senate. It's really hard to see how they do that without holding on to the state of Michigan, a lot of red territory elsewhere on the map.
And in Michigan, how has the state shifted between the 2020 election cycle and 2024?
Yeah, Lindsay, this is fascinating. This is the map that gave Donald Trump his victory in Michigan. Remember, Michigan went for Donald Trump in 2016. It then went for Biden in 2020, then back to Trump in 2024. And take a look at what happened, particularly in the Detroit area, here in the southeastern part of the state. Those are pretty blue areas. But key thing here, look at how much they moved just in that 4-year period between the 2 election cycles. That is the vote shift. These are still blue places, but those red arrows, that's a massive number of voters who came out for Donald Trump or didn't show up for Kamala Harris. Those are exactly the kind of voters that the Democrats need to win back if they're going to win states like Michigan and potentially carry Michigan in the next presidential campaign.
And we're hearing about polling monitors in Michigan. Is this a sign of things to come for midterms in November?
Yeah, it sure could be, Lindsay. Now, it's not atypical for the Justice Department to send polling monitors to battleground states, but particularly where they are in some of the big urban areas, including those that I just highlighted, Detroit, Lansing, places like that. It has some Democrats concerned. What exactly are federal agents doing there? Are they looking to see potentially non-citizen voting? Are they looking for enforcement actions? Are they just taking notes? Again, federal government often does this, but given the way the Trump administration has choreographed its concerns around the coming election, any deployment like this is going to draw a lot of scrutiny, Lindsay.
All right. We'll be with you all night. Rick Klein, thanks so much for joining us at the Big Boards, and joining us now, political director Avery Harper. So you were on the ground in Michigan. What were you hearing as far as the issues that are most important to the people there?
Yeah, I was struck about how much I heard from voters about wanting special interests and corporate money out of politics, those who wanted money spent in Michigan rather than sending funds to faraway places like Israel. It's really campaign finance, anti-Israel sentiment, all wrapped up with affordability at its foundation. And then the kitchen table issues were also something that I heard over and over again from voters. I heard a lot about the cost of living, about the cost of health care, and utility bills. And so I think those are the issues that voters are going to be considering as they cast their ballots tonight.
And obviously, we've heard a lot about progressives kind of handily winning some of these primaries, but there's a concern about electability come the midterms, ultimately in November. Is that especially a concern for voters in Michigan and beyond when it comes to Dr. Abdul El-Sayed?
Certainly. Michigan is not New York or Colorado or California, where we've seen some of these progressive candidates, DSA-aligned candidates win in some of those places. And so with Abdul El-Sayed, he argues that he can build a coalition of young voters, of disaffected voters, even some of those Republican voters on the right that might dislike the fact that money has been spent on this war with Iran, or folks who are looking for better access to health care. But it remains to be seen if he's able to sort of build that sort of coalition. And there are critics, not only within the Democratic Party, but also Republicans that argue that he is easier to beat in a general election than Haley Stevens. And that is the argument that Haley Stevens has been trying to make, that she is going to be the person who can beat Mike Rogers in November, because, again, this is a must-hold seat for Democrats as they try to take control of the Senate.
And we've been discussing, obviously, there's a fight on the ground in Michigan for the black vote. And what are the different approaches that we're seeing between Stevens and El-Sayed?
Yeah, when I was actually on the ground in Michigan, I went to 2 events, one for El-Sayed on the east side of Detroit, very predominantly black community there, and I went to one in a working class, predominantly black suburb called Ecorse, downriver south of Detroit, for Haley Stevens. both investing a lot of time in reaching out to black voters who make up a sizable portion of the electorate, about 13%. So what they do tonight will matter quite a bit. And so we've seen Haley Stevens really leaning into the fact that she has ties to the Obama administration. She worked on a task force to save the auto industry. And so not only giving her credibility with black voters, but also with working class voters, with labor, which is very important in a state like Michigan, whereas we've seen El Sayed try to build a coalition around shared economic grievances. And he has really talked about his experience running the health department in Detroit.
All right, so we'll be watching the votes come in with you throughout the night, as long as it takes. All right, Avery, thank you. And we're joined now by Democratic strategist and ABC News contributor Amanda Renteria. Amanda, thanks so much for joining us. Let's pick up where we just left off with Avery in Michigan there. We have two very different directions that the party can go between Abdul El Sayed and Haley Stevens. What's the most important thing that you're looking for in tonight's results that could shape ultimately how the general election race plays out in November?
Well, first of all, across the country, the thing you look at is how energized are people. Whether you're talking about Texas, Kansas, Michigan, how energized are people is incredibly important. That gives you a sense of what do you need to do for the general election if you bring the parties together, or if you bring the party together. And that's really the question in Michigan, is what does the electorate really look like? Where is the energy? And so you've seen this race, and really it's a difference of generations. Is the electorate really looking for new ideas and a new kind of candidate that is out there influencing all the kinds of conversations he's having? Or are you looking for somebody who people have known for a while, who really understand the kind of policy she's done over time? And so this particular race is quite interesting because we have seen progressive candidates and new ideas really emerge on the coasts. This is the first time it is happening in the Midwest where you're going to get a real picture of the energy in each of those different races, but also the overall tenor of what is happening in the Democratic Party. And you're seeing that even more specifically in the black vote, where you are seeing these candidates go to the different places. And that part, for any Democrat watching, is exciting because you're seeing a renewed energy. And the big thing is, after this election, how does the party come together? And do you have now some momentum to move forward for a new kind of electorate in this midterm election?
What do you say to concerns among some on the establishment side who are worried that El Sayed in particular will be a tougher sell to Michigan voters in a statewide general election against former Congressman Mike Rogers? Any concerns for you there?
I think the electorate is changing. And so if you are measuring this next election cycle in the midterms based on previous elections, that's never boded well. And I think particularly what we're seeing across the country in all of these midterm elections is you are seeing Democrats really do extremely well against Republicans in all different areas. And that's mainly because you have candidates who have a little bit of a fight and a difference. And there's no doubt that there's a change momentum going on. And so I'm a little less worried about it because I know as an organizer and a political person, one of the hardest things is to get people excited. I do believe the party will come together. And I suppose my confidence comes from the idea that at the end of the day, democratic values can come together, especially in an election cycle where so many kitchen topic table items are right in the center of the conversation. And Democrats have a real plan for that.
All right, Amanda Renteria, thanks so much. I want to bring in ABC News contributor and former special assistant to President Trump and director of media affairs at the White House, Sunny Joy Nelson. Sunny, thank you for your time tonight. What are Republicans going to be watching for as tonight's results come in?
Well, thank you for having me. Tonight really is a litmus test for the Democratic Party. It's very high stakes. What we're seeing happening tonight is this big tent Democratic Party going to fully embrace radical democratic socialism? We've seen it happen in deep blue New York City, but this is the first time we see it being on the ballot in swing states like Michigan. And I will say it seems like it might be gaining popularity within the party, with Kalshi Politics putting out a poll that they expect 82% chance that the progressives will take the lead this tonight in the election tonight. This is very concerning, and it's really a difficult thing for the Democratic Party to overcome, and it's certainly not something that's going to sit well with the general electorate this November.
Unlike a presidential election, midterms or base elections, we often see the most enthusiastic voters of each party turning out to the polls in November. El Sayed has a lot of excitement behind him from Democratic voters. If he wins tonight, what's your takeaway?
Well, we've also seen El Sayed gain really important endorsements with Democratic leadership in Congress coming behind him, which I think says a lot about the direction of the party. We see the party embracing things like government-run grocery stores, the elimination of the Senate, the elimination of the presidency, defunding the Department of War. These are issues that the American people are overwhelmingly going to reject. It's not going to be a winning platform this November, and I'm afraid that it might be too late for the Democrats. And if El Sayed is to pull through this evening, what I think will happen is that it will really ignite enthusiasm on the right to come out and make sure that these policies do not get anywhere near Washington, D.C.
The president's approval numbers have hit a record low for him. The latest poll from Reuters has him at just 35% approval. Does this concern Republicans heading into November?
You know, that's an excellent question, and I will say live by the poll, die by the poll. I think the president's policies are speaking for themselves. As we've seen, the economy is doing so much better. There's a manufacturing boom that is back right now, the lowest unemployment. We've seen initial jobless claims, the lowest that they've been since the 1960s. These are things that the working American are going to remember when they head to the polls. They're going to remember that we have the lowest homicide rate in many years. They're going to know that the border is closed, that crime is down. These are key issues that the American people care about and that they're going to vote on this November.
Sunny Joy Nelson, so appreciate your time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Staying with politics, a family scandal erupted in full public view today. Embattled Congressman Max Miller of Ohio is accused of domestic abuse by his ex-wife. He denies it, but his former father-in-law, Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, is now speaking out, calling Miller a madman. Here's our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott.
Tonight, a family scandal erupting into full view on Capitol Hill. Republican Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio calling his former son-in-law, Ohio Congressman Max Miller, who is running for re-election, a madman, saying the congressman, who is married to the senator's daughter Emily, is putting the family through hell.
This is truly the seventh level of hell. This has been a horrific experience for my entire family.
The senator's daughter, Emily, claims Congressman Miller, her ex-husband, abused her. In a February police report obtained by ABC News, she claims he threw her against the wall, once held a gun to her head, and another time threw hot water on her. Miller says she's lying. As proof, he said his ex-wife offered to cook him dinner several days after one of the alleged incidents.
6 days later, she offered to cook empanadas for me for dinner. So ask yourself, if I had assaulted her, would she have offered to cook me dinner 6 days later?
Miller's former father-in-law, Senator Moreno, furious.
My daughter lives in constant fear of this man. Deeply in her heart, she fears what this guy is capable of.
Caught in the middle, the couple's 2-year-old daughter. Senator Moreno said he had to pick the child up from Miller over the weekend.
So I meet him at the Bay Village Police Station, because that's the place that we have to go to meet, because I don't know what this guy's capable of. She comes over, gets in our car, we drive away, and if anybody's a parent, she has a little blue bunny that she sleeps with. Max would not hand over the little blue bunny. Literally held it hostage for 48 hours. This girl is crying at night because she can't sleep without her little blue bunny. And his answer is, I'm just not gonna give it to you. So finally yesterday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, yesterday, he lets the little blue bunny go. This is the level of total and complete depravity.
Miller is also accused of physically abusing his daughter.
I have never abused our daughter.
Miller says his daughter was hurt by employees at her daycare. The local Department of Children and Family Services did not find evidence to substantiate allegations of child abuse against him. Senator Marino says Congressman Miller is not fit for office. But tonight, Miller's saying he's not going anywhere.
So for no second am I going to sit here and continue to be debased by false and baseless allegations and be pushed out of a seat I have worked so hard to represent and done a terrific job for our community.
Rachel Scott joins us now from the Capitol. And Rachel, just to explain the timeline here, when does Miller need to change his mind, drop out, or resign?
Yeah, well, Linsey, he would certainly be running out of time if he decides to change his mind. He would only have until tomorrow, Tuesday night, to drop out of this race in time for Republicans to try to hold a special election in order to replace him so that his name does not appear on the ballot. But so far, he is defiant that he's staying in this race. And while President Trump has publicly called Miller a good person, sources tell me that behind the scenes, the president did talk to Miller by phone, and he did express concerns about whether or not he can win re-election. Meanwhile, House Republican leadership, they have remained silent on all of this, Linsey.
Rachel Scott for us from Capitol Hill. Thanks so much, Rachel. Signs of progress tonight in negotiations between the U.S. and Iran, 24 hours after President Trump said he was giving Tehran a last chance. An Iranian spokesperson is now saying talks to reopen the Strait of Hormuz have been positive. That news is already affecting oil and gas prices. Here's ABC's Matt Rivers.
Tonight, stocks surging to record highs on Wall Street and oil prices plunging, based on hope that 6 months into the war with Iran, some sort of agreement is close to reopen the critical Strait of Hormuz. Details of any possible deal remain unclear, but the Dow soaring 900 points, closing above 54,000 for the first time ever. The price of U.S. oil dropping below $80 after the Trump administration signaled a deal may be close.
There's been progress made in those talks, but not finality yet. We're hoping that will happen very shortly.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent today offering this timeline.
We may have a deal today or tomorrow to open the strait.
Iran today saying they are only negotiating with Oman about control over the Strait of Hormuz, claiming talks were positive. Iran has repeatedly said it will keep control over the strait, which was open free to international traffic before the war, and they have said they might charge fees. President Trump warned this is Iran's last chance to make a deal, insisting the strait will not be tolled.
We're not talking about charging at all. There won't be charging.
Our thanks to Matt. Coming up, police get some help from above to make an arrest, see where the drone located their suspect, and children living in uncertainty during times of war. Our chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell takes a closer look at how children are dealing with conflict in Iran, Lebanon, and Israel. Plus, Democratic Socialists say their support is growing, but how many people are voting for those candidates? We take a look by the numbers.
Now more than ever, America needs a laugh.
This guy's kind of cute. Hey, little guy.
Idiots. This Friday, these troopers.
This is the second time you've tried to kill Farva in a week.
Are reporting for duty.
No new info on the guy who did it.
Oh, so it couldn't have been a woman?
Sexist.
Not sexist.
Women can be criminals.
You ever see Ocean's 8?
Enough.
Super Troopers 3, rated R. Only in theaters Friday.
You dance expensive. 12 of the world's greatest dancers will live together and compete to become a pro dancer on the next season of Dancing with the Stars.
Game time, baby. I've put everything on the line for this.
This is my dream.
I want to see you fight for it.
That could be on Dancing with the Stars tomorrow.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. We used to know each other. But the truth is, I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. God, that's cool. Here we go. And sometimes, Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. Let's end this on a high note, huh?
Spider-Man, brand new day. Now playing. Rated PG-13.
First thing in the morning, at home, on your way to work, with your coffee, wherever you are. Get the day's first news, first reports from across the world, and the morning's first buzziest stories you'll be talking about all day.
See you here first thing on ABC News Live First.
Friday night, Pamela Nicola Smart, the infamous case that had everyone talking.
It has sex, betrayal, and most importantly, murder.
A beautiful 22-year-old woman having an affair with a 16-year-old boy.
She told him that the only way we can be together is if you kill my husband.
And now, after 36 years in prison and a dramatic plea for a last chance at freedom, her emotional, stunning admission. 2020, Friday night on ABC and stream on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Please.
There are 3 victims we know of. The suspect is female, white, late 20s.
Female serial killers.
They kill for power, control.
Why is she telling us who's next?
You have no idea who you're dealing with.
I've been waiting for you.
It's really remarkable. I just love my job.
The Devil Wears Prada 2, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu. Welcome back, everyone. With many Americans frustrated about widening income inequality, the organization Democratic Socialists of America says their group has grown to 120,000 members in 220 local chapters. But what are the tenets of democratic socialism, and would Americans vote for a socialist for president? We take a look by the numbers. 75% of Democrats say that they would consider supporting a democratic socialist for president, according to a Washington Post Ipsos poll conducted online in July. But only 39% of Americans overall said that they would vote for such a candidate. The group's platform supports policies including socialized health care, increasing taxes on the rich, and free pre-kindergarten. But 8% of respondents think that Democratic Socialists stand for free stuff for undeserving people. Compare that to 13% of respondents who said that the party stands for helping ordinary people, workers, and the poor. Just 10% of Republicans polled said that they would consider voting for a Democratic Socialist for president. Democratic socialism is more popular with young people and those with high levels of education. 46% of Americans younger than 30 said that they would consider supporting a Democratic Socialist for president. And 51% of people with postgraduate degrees were also potential supporters. Democratic Socialists seem to be gaining strength, which could pose a challenge for the Democratic Party as it seeks to win mass appeal in 2028. Still ahead, what health officials are saying about a sharp rise in the cases of the intestinal parasite cyclopariasis. And later, the American city slapping stickers on cars to shame drivers parked where they shouldn't be.
Gird your loins.
You got it, dude.
Set your mind to rewind with throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh, snap. Sweet niblets.
Celebrate the good times.
Picture this. Sicily. Sing to me, Paolo.
Reading. Remember the best lines.
Get nasty. You jump, I jump, Jack.
Honey, you never looked better.
Then, now, and always. The best of both. You know the best of both.
That's all.
All your favorite throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu. Now totally streaming.
Please.
There are 3 victims we know of. The suspect is female, white, late 20s.
Female serial killers.
They kill for power, control.
Why is she telling us who's next?
You have no idea who you're dealing with.
I've been waiting for you.
All right, let's go. Come on.
Let's go.
Super Bowl 61 is coming.
Let's go.
And everyone's going.
Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Come on, let's go. Let's go. Let's do it.
Let's go.
Because once the game starts,
Let's go. You better get on that bus.
Why, Jimmy? Well, don't just stand there.
everything else stops.
It was the worst case I've ever seen. It's the nightmare.
Really disturbing.
The murder of Angie Dodge.
When you have a child that's murdered, life just gets shattered.
Now, step inside the chilling mystery.
What was waiting in that basement? The ultimate clue.
Man, this is it.
Oh yeah, guys, let's do this. Let's go catch a murderer.
Been giving me goosebumps.
A total shock. Follow the clues in this stunning all-new 2020 true crime mystery, The Snare, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Should we introduce you first?
Most people know me from Vanderpump Rules, but I'm a mom, a wife, a podcaster. I'm traumatized by reality TV, but I can't stay away from it.
It's like if they're not on your payroll, they don't get to be in your life. Am I here to ice anyone out?
When you said that,
don't cut me off. I showed up for you.
This time I get to do it on my terms. What could go wrong?
House of Stassi, now streaming on Hulu.
My friends and I were young and rich. We had it all.
I totally agree.
Then the most magnetic person I'd ever seen walked into our lives.
The new guy likes you.
There's something very wrong with him.
FX's The Shards premieres August 5th on FX and Hulu. You've never seen anything like this before.
Here it is. I mean, that's incredible.
This place is going to astonish you.
What is that?
Oh my gosh.
America's most beautiful natural wonders.
Wow! This is breathtaking.
Whoa, that is pretty amazing.
ABC News and Nat Geo.
This is extraordinary.
In search of
7 Natural Wonders of America, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Tomorrow, K-pop sensation Young Jun brings his first solo performance to GMA and Central Park on GMA's Summer Concert Series, sponsored by Norwegian Cruise Line.
Welcome back to Prime. Here's a look at the stories making headlines right now. Primary voters in 5 states heading to the polls today, including in the battleground state of Michigan, where the Democratic primary for the open Senate seat is being closely watched. It will once again test the powers of progressives versus moderate Democrats, and the outcome could be pivotal to which party controls the Senate next year. Republican Senator Susan Collins says she will be voting no on Todd Blanche's nomination to serve as Attorney General. This narrows Blanche's path to confirmation, with a full vote coming later this week. Blanche was approved by the committee today and now can only afford to lose 1 more Republican senator's support before potentially falling short of the votes needed for confirmation. Authorities have released the name of the suspect linked to the devastating wildfires that have burned more than 10,000 acres in and around Spokane, Washington. Authorities arrested 37-year-old Aaron Farinacci on arson charges. They say that he deliberately started the Old Trails fire, the largest of the 3 wildfires. Farinacci was spotted Saturday kneeling in the grass on the side of the road by a Good Samaritan, who then called 911. Farinacci was released from prison in 2020 after serving time for manslaughter in Arizona. And we're just learning tonight of a frightening incident Sunday at President Trump's National Golf Course in Rancho Palos Verdes, California. Plainclothes federal agents said that they spotted a man walking the grounds, taking pictures and recording videos appearing to monitor security planning activities. After detaining the 38-year-old suspect, deputies found hollow point ammunition in his pocket and a loaded pistol in his car. In a search of his home, investigators then uncovered more firearms, body armor, and multiple notebooks containing, quote, concerning statements. The FBI and Secret Service are continuing their investigation while the suspect remains in custody. He's been charged with carrying a concealed firearm and possessing prohibited ammunition. Coming up, police in Missouri receive a high-tech assist in the search for a wanted suspect. We have the details in tonight's rundown. And our Prime Focus, we travel to some of the hardest war-torn countries of the world and get an in-depth perspective on the battle to save the children of war.
Gird your loins.
You got it, dude.
Set your mind to rewind with throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh, snap, sweet niblets.
Celebrate the good times.
Picture this. Sicily. Sing to me, Paolo.
Remember the best lines.
You nasty. You jump, I jump, Jack.
Honey, you never looked better.
Then, now, and always.
The best of both. You know the best of both.
That's all.
All your favorite throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu. Now totally streaming.
You've never seen anything like this before.
Here it is. I mean, that's incredible.
This place is going to astonish you.
What is that?
Oh my gosh.
America's most beautiful natural wonders.
Wow! This is breathtaking.
Whoa, that is pretty amazing.
ABC News and Nat Geo.
This is extraordinary.
In search of
7 Natural Wonders of America, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
All across America.
Good morning.
Hello.
Wherever we are,
welcome home.
It feels like home.
Oh, yeah.
man. It's good to be home.
GMA, it's an invitation to come together.
Hey, George, how are you?
Good morning! And brighten your morning.
Now you can listen to a podcast version of Nightline, available free wherever you listen. ABC News Live, winner of 3 prestigious Emmy Awards, including for outstanding live breaking news coverage. Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
Imagine what it's like for a child living through a time of war, not knowing if the next bomb will fall on their home, how they'll be educated, or how their family will buy food, if they even survive at all. Tonight, our chief foreign correspondent, Ian Pannell, takes a close look at how children particularly are faring in Iran, Lebanon, and Israel at a time when peace seems so precarious.
اسمتو بگو.
بنا.
چند سالته؟
5 سال.
5 سالته.
Five months after the start of the Iran war and fragile on-again, off-again ceasefires between Israel, the US and Iran, and another between Iran's proxy Hezbollah in Lebanon and Israel hang by a thread, with no end in sight.
چه چیزایی باعث میشه احساس کنی که همه چی خوبه، امنه، مشکلی نیست؟
بوم نزنه، هیچکی نمیه.
Do you ever get used to the sirens and the explosions? Does it ever become normal?
אף פעם אי אפשר להתרגל לזה, זה תמיד מפחיד, זה תמיד מקפיץ את הלב. אנחנו לא מתרגלים לזה אף פעם, אבל לאט לאט אנחנו יכולים לתת לזה לקרוא לזה שגרה.
The youngest and the weakest are always doomed to suffer the most in war. Children too young to understand why their world is being turned upside down, but old enough to bear the mental and physical scars of the conflicts that are thrust upon them. The Fern Shabak Intermediate School is one of hundreds across Lebanon turned into shelters for displaced families. These children sit in classrooms where the only subject taught today is a real-life lesson, war and survival. But as is often the case, they still try to make the best of this new world. Here, these games are not only a way to escape from the violence around them, but a form of therapy. Social workers come in to help these children cope with the horrors of war.
أحياناً بسبب التغيرات سلوكيات الأولاد بتتغير، فممكن يكون في بعض السلوكيات العدوانية.
The pressure on parents is enormous. Zainab arrived with her 6-year-old son Jawad in March, when Israel first began attacking Hezbollah strongholds in southern Lebanon.
إنه يعني كتير متغير من وقت ما جينا، صار كتير عدواني، بكسر صاير، بيخرب، بيصرخ، ما عادش يتقبل حدا.
And millions have had their childhoods cut short. The UN children's charity UNICEF says more than 4,000 children have been reportedly injured, including nearly 600 who've been killed in the violence across Iran, Lebanon and Israel. The Iran war spread as Israel and Hezbollah, the Iranian-backed militant group in Lebanon, exchanged fire. Israel launching a massive bombing campaign and invading the south. According to the International Rescue Committee, more than 1 million people, including over 300,000 children, have been forced from their homes.
في كتير تحديات عم نواجهها، منها الأوضاع، نحن ما بنعرف شو ممكن يصير بكرة أو ممكن يصير بعده.
UNICEF warns that repeated displacement and exposure to violence can affect children's emotional development, learning, relationships, and sense of safety for years after war's end.
وأنا مش مبسوطة لأنه نحن بعدين عن بيت، ويا ريت نرجع بيتنا. إن شاء الله بنرجع.
For millions of young people living through war and displacement, the end of active violence rarely equals the end of fear, stress and grief.
سلام دخترهای مینا من یک دختر ایرانی هستم به اسم سنا
12-year-old Sana is around the same age as the 120 schoolgirls who were killed in a series of strikes by US missiles at the Shajara Tayyebe Girls Elementary School in the southern Iranian city of Minab at the start of the war.
من از این که شما از این دنیا رفته اید خیلی ناراحت هستم.
The Trump administration has been investigating the strike over the past 5 months.
دخترهای میناب من خودم را جای شما گذاشتم و شما را درک میکنم. خدا نگهدار شما از طرف سنا.
The memories still stay with Sana, putting her grief to pen and paper in a letter to the Minab girls.
اصلا من هیچ وقت این صحنه ها رو یادم نمیره و اینکه به ما گفتن بریم پناهگاه چون ما تعدادمون زیاد بود 200 نفر بودیم جا نمیشدیم بریم اونجا.
For millions of Iranian children, the war didn't just close classrooms, it interrupted an entire generation's education, with schools closed and almost total blackouts of government-approved internet, leaving them with only a few hours of online education. As the conflict continues, rights groups say Iranian children as young as 12 are increasingly being drawn into state propaganda and paramilitary activities. Videos verified by ABC News appear to show children taking part in public military-style trainings, including lessons on how to handle and load weapons. But the memories of airstrikes will be hard to forget. Watch Pana's reaction as a door behind slams shut. Across Iran, a generation of children is tragically united by memories no child should have.
من دوره‌ای که بود احساس زیادی ترس داشتم. دوست داشتم سرمو یه چیزی گرم کنم که مثلا حس نکنم موشک‌ها رو. فردا مثلا موقعی که داشتم مشقامو می‌نویسم صدا هواپیماها داشتن از بالا سرمون رد می‌شدن. من صدا بوم می‌زنم می‌ترسم. دوست داشتم ایسی بمیرم.
Communities in northern Israel have also suffered from the war, and not for the first time. The numbers killed may be far fewer, thanks to an incredible defense system. But for children here, the fear of drones and rockets is all too familiar. Netta, Emma and Jonathan live just 10 miles south of the Lebanese border. Sirens, safe rooms, explosions and geopolitics have come to define their childhood.
זה קצת מפחיד. העובדה שאנשים שונאים אותנו בעולם, זה קצת קשה לחיות עם זה.
You feel people around the world hate you?
אני אישית לא מרגישה ששונאים אותי, אבל יכול להיות שאנשים בעולם שונאים את המדינה שלנו.
What would you say to those people if you could talk to them? How would you explain?
שכל הזמן שיורים עליכם, זה לא ממש נעים לחיות במקום כזה. לפעמים אתה רוצה לעזוב למדינה אחרת.
Jonathan, just 14, was living abroad. His family moved to Israel from Mexico a few weeks before Hamas attacked Israel on October the 7th, 2023. Israel has been embroiled in near constant conflict since.
Do you get used to it? Does it ever become normal?
No, never. It's very hard, so difficult to live in the north and with the Hezbollah and Iran. We can't live there. We can't live like that.
Do you think there are young men in Lebanon, in Iran, who have similar feelings to you?
Yeah, I'm sure.
You think?
I'm sure.
Yeah. What would you like to see happen now to make life better, not just for you, but for everyone?
We don't need to be friends with Iran and Lebanon, but we can accept that we don't need to fight every day about what we both want. It's not necessary to do this, to kill people, so many people. It's not the right thing to do.
Nearly 7,000 people have died as a result of the Iran war across the region. And tonight, across the Middle East, millions of children are going to sleep carrying questions no child should have to ask. What was that sound? Are we really safe? And when will it stop?
هرچی خواب میبینم خوابای جن که میبینم.
طب شو أكثر شيء بتشتاق له من بيتك؟
أكثر شيء مشتاق له رفقاتي. دوستي. حسب الأمان.
Just simple desires that they have. They are just kids after all. Our thanks to Ian Pannell and the team for that. Coming up, the evidence of their talent is in their staying power. The alt-rock band, the Gin Blossoms, is celebrating the 30th anniversary of their platinum album, Congratulations, I'm Sorry. We'll talk to band members Jesse Valenzuela and Robin Wilson. And multi-gazillionaires can make strange bedfellows. We'll tell you Leonardo DiCaprio and Jeff Bezos' plan to save critically endangered species next.
My friends and I were young and rich. We had it all.
I totally agree.
Then the most magnetic person I'd ever seen walked into our lives.
The new guy likes you.
There's something very wrong with him.
FX's The Shards premieres August 5th on FX and Hulu.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. We used to know each other. But the truth is, I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. God, that's cool. Here we go. And sometimes, Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. Let's end this on a high note, huh?
Spider-Man, Brand New Day, now playing. Rated PG-13.
This is what you need to know. We'll take you straight to where news is happening and give you what you need to know all in under 10 minutes. The top stories, latest headlines, what everyone's talking about. What you need to know all in under 10 minutes. New episodes streaming every day. Only on Disney+.
It's really remarkable. I just love my job.
The Devil Wears Prada 2, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
America's #1 news, ABC News, now streaming 24/7 on Disney Plus.
First thing in the morning, at home, on your way to work, with your coffee, wherever you are. Get the day's first news, first reports from across the world, and the morning's first buzziest stories you'll be talking about all day.
See you here first thing on ABC News Live First.
Police used some help from above to track down a suspect. Jeff Bezos and Leonardo DiCaprio just announced a $200 million venture, and New York City brings back the sticker of shame. These stories and more in tonight's rundown. Before even arriving on scene, police knew exactly where a suspect was hiding thanks to a drone. As officers were on their way to a 911 call in Missouri, they launched the drone to assess the situation. Police say the man had violated a restraining order at a family member's home. With a bird's eye view, the drone followed the suspect as he approached windows and doors around the house and then hid inside a storm drain. The man was quickly located by officers and arrested. New Jersey is suing Amazon, claiming the online retailer imposed low pay and poor conditions for thousands of independent drivers who deliver through the company's Delivery Service Partner Program. The program is run by Amazon's logistics department and allows third-party businesses to deliver Amazon packages. Amazon says the businesses in the program deliver 20 million packages a day for the company globally. An Amazon spokesperson said, quote, "The complaint is not grounded in fact." The Labor Department says U.S. job openings slipped to 7.4 million in June, down from 7.5 million in May. However, the numbers were in line with economists' predictions. The U.S. job market has remained stable despite a surge in energy prices caused by the conflict in Iran. So far this year, companies, government agencies, and nonprofits have added an average of 92,000 jobs a month, up from fewer than 10,000 a month last year. Leonardo DiCaprio and Jeff Bezos are facing one battle after another. The two men are teaming up to lead a $200 million venture called the Phoenix Species Project. Its mission is to save 100 of the world's most threatened species. In the announcement, they called it the largest fund in history dedicated exclusively to recovering critically endangered species, including endangered lemurs, salamanders, pangolins, and pigs. For the first time ever, fans are choosing Texas.
He's choosing Texas, I can tell.
And country. Country songs are dominating the charts and making history. The top 5 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 are country for the first time ever. The artists topping the charts are Ella Langley, pop icon and newlywed Taylor Swift for her song I Knew It, I Knew You.
I knew it, I knew ya.
Other country artists dominating the charts are Morgan Wallen and Stella Lefty. The city that never sleeps is targeting drivers who want to sleep in. New York City brought back its sticker of shame for drivers who do not move their cars for street cleaning. The exact time you need to move your car varies by street, but is typically around 8:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. Drivers who do not move their car will find a large sticker on their vehicle. The city council says the initiative is aimed at keeping the streets clean. They were a staple of 90s alternative rock, and the Gin Blossoms are as strong as ever today. This year, the band is marking the 30th anniversary of its platinum-selling sophomore album, Congratulations, I'm Sorry, featuring top 10 hit, Follow You Down. I sat down with them to discuss their enduring sound, but first, take a listen.
Anywhere you go, I'll follow you down. Any place but those I know by heart. Anywhere you go, I'll follow you down.
Joining us now, Jesse Valenzuela and Robin Wilson of the Gin Blossoms. Guys, thank you so much for joining us.
Our pleasure.
So, when you hear that music, does it feel like it was 30 years ago?
Oh, yeah.
It does.
Every day of it.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I was just looking at the video, and I remember we did that video here in New York.
Yeah.
It was just a long, miserable day.
Well, what do you think it is about that song in particular? You have a number of fan favorites, but what is it about Follow You Down, for example, that you think just gets people going still today, 30 years later?
Well, it's got a great beat, and you can dance to it. The lyrics are kind of a universal theme, you know, and the melody's great.
Aside from your anniversary, 30th anniversary, you guys are also now co-headlining a tour. So what can fans expect from that tour?
Well, it's a long night of great music. The Spin Doctors there, and then we'll play, and then the Blues Travelers, and there's a lot of hits. Those 3 bands have a lot of hits, so a lot of hit songs, a lot of fun. It's pretty relaxed kind of groove, and all the bands get along so well. It's a pretty fun show to see.
When you're performing in front of audiences, do you get the sense that there are a lot of new fans, or these are your long-time fans? Can you tell when you're looking out at the crowd?
Oh, you can definitely spot the younger people in the crowd. Most of our audience has come up with us and grown up with us, but it's always exciting to see young people out there, because it reminds me of me at the Cheap Trick concert, you know, and so when I see, you know, like a young dude, I'm like, that's me.
What do you get the sense is a fan favorite that you have to play?
With that one and Hey Jealousy, we have a lot of hits. We're fortunate.
All the hits, and when you see the phones come out, you know you've touched a nerve.
Gin Blossoms has been around now for, nearly 4 decades. We've seen a lot of bands break up and go out on their own, or there's dissension among the ranks. What is it about you guys that keeps you together?
Well, we joke that it's spite.
Yeah.
Tell me more. How does spite keep one together?
Yeah.
It's like
a lot of marriages would stay together if that were the case, right?
I think they do. It's not only spite. There's a lot of concern for each other as well. We've been together a long time.
Yeah, we're in it for each other's families as much as we are to play the music.
Guys, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. You can listen to Congratulations, I'm Sorry on all music platforms, and you can see Gin Blossoms on tour with Blues Traveler and Spin Doctors at a venue near you. Coming up, voters are heading to the polls in Michigan, Virginia, Kansas, Missouri, and Washington tonight. Which candidates have an edge and who can pull off a surprise upset? And Ariana Grande speaks out after saying she'll step back from the public eye. What she told her fans about the decision during a recent concert.
What is this place?
It's amazing.
How the hell are you supposed to break into this place?
Unleash. When I say jump, jerks, you jerks jump. The mayhem.
I'm in.
Plan is, when they use the blender, we move.
What do you think, Linda? Should we do it?
Showtime.
Hey, this is actually kind of fun.
We could just make this our house.
Hulu Animation, your animation destination.
In the middle of our street.
What's the most honored and awarded streaming news program?
This is ABC News Live Prime. We're tracking several stories breaking this evening. In the flood zone, the painstaking search for the missing continues.
Wherever you stream, Linsey Davis is right there for you.
From Paris, here at the Vatican, from Washington, D.C., here at Notre Dame Cathedral. So impressive.
Newsmaking.
Your testimony was so critical to Epstein's arrest. Do you think that the Epstein files should be released to the public?
Spotlight interviews you'll only see here, exclusive.
Chaos breaks out. Your husband is whisked away. What did that moment feel like for you?
Surprising.
What's next for you all?
More of this. ABC News Live Prime. The hottest stars as you haven't seen, holding nothing back.
That's a really real question you ask.
And always ready to go there.
Many people have said you all are Hollywood's most enduring bromance.
Yeah. It's the Emmy-nominated show you're just gonna love and want more of.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Prime with Linsey Davis.
All right.
Stream ABC News Live Prime wherever you stream.
It's really remarkable. I just love my job.
The Devil Wears Prada 2, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
You dance expensive. 12 of the world's greatest dancers will live together and compete to become a pro dancer on the next season of Dancing with the Stars. Game time, baby.
I've put everything on the line for this.
This is my dream.
I want to see you fight for it.
That could be on Dancing with the Stars tomorrow.
You've never seen anything like this before.
Here it is. I mean, that's incredible.
This place is going to astonish you.
What is that? Oh my gosh.
America's most beautiful natural wonders.
Wow! This is breathtaking.
Whoa, that is pretty amazing.
ABC News and Nat Geo.
This is extraordinary.
In search of
7 Natural Wonders of America, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Reporting from South Lake, Texas, I'm John Quinones. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Linsey Davis. Thank you so much for streaming with us. We begin with a high-stakes night in politics as primary voters in 5 states head to the polls. Polls have already closed in Virginia and Missouri, plus parts of Michigan and Kansas at this hour. ABC News can project that Democratic Senator Mark Warner will move on to the general election in November. Warner is seeking what he says is his 4th and final term in the U.S. Senate. He'll face off against retired Army General Burt Mitsusala, who ABC News projects will win the Republican primary for Senate. The Senate matchup in November will be on the ballot with several competitive House seats. The results of those races could decide which party controls Congress next year. Plus, tonight's turnout will signal voter engagement from both parties heading into November. Among tonight's critical contests is a closely watched Senate primary race in the true swing state of Michigan. Many view this race between progressive former state health official Dr. Abdul El-Sayed and rival Congresswoman Haley Stevens as a test for the direction of the Democratic Party. It's a must-win seat for Democrats if they are to retake the Senate next year. We're watching it all as the results roll in. Joining us now is ABC political director Avery Harper. And Avery, what role is outside money playing in tonight's primaries?
I mean, it is playing a major role, particularly in that Michigan Democratic Senate primary. And we've seen more than $60 million in outside spending to boost the moderate candidate, the establishment candidate, Haley Stevens. And that has really become a line of attack for the progressive outsider candidate, Abdul Al-Sayed. I mean, when you go to his campaign events, he begins his events with a slogan, a motto: money out of politics, money in your pocket, and Medicare for all. And that is a message that we've heard resonating with voters when we were on the ground out in Michigan. I asked Haley Stevens what she says to those who believe that she's bought and paid for, given the massive amount of spending by some of these outside groups, including AIPAC, which has been a flashpoint in this race. And she told me that Michiganders and the needs of Michiganders are her North Star.
All right, so if Al-Sayed is able to pull off a victory tonight for the Senate race in Michigan, how much of a role do you feel that the war in Gaza will happen in the general election?
I think it will be an incredibly important issue to certain parts of the Democratic constituency. You have to remember that Michigan is the home of the uncommitted movement, which really laid bare some deep divisions within the Democratic Party and arguably hurt Kamala Harris in the 2024 election over the Biden administration's handling of the war with Gaza and its continued support of Israel. So it would be a boon to Al-Sayed's race in that regard. But I do think that there are some within the Michigan electorate, in particularly Jewish voters, who also make up a sizable portion of the electorate that are a little bit wary of him. And so he's going to have to make the argument that he can appeal to all those folks if he prevails in tonight's primary.
All right, Avery, we'll see you in just a few moments. Watch the results coming in real time. Let's continue our your voice, your vote 2026 coverage with some political analysis. Joining us now, ABC's political contributors Amanda Renteria and Sunny Joy Nelson. Thank you both so much for joining us again. Amanda, let's start with you. Polls are closing in the key battleground state of Michigan, where the Democrats race for the open Senate seat there once again highlights the progressive moderate split that we've seen in other races. Tell us what's at stake in this race tonight.
Well, it's a really important conversation to be having within the Democratic Party in terms of where are the new ideas, where are the new candidates that are coming through, and what does it mean in the center of the country? And whether you do have a state like Michigan that leans into some of the messaging you're hearing around Al-Sayed, or are we going to see people move back to a more moderate stance where you are working with more established candidates that people have known for a really long time? I mean, this is a real tension within the Democratic Party, and right now is the first major test to see what the state of Michigan is going to do. Frankly, I'm excited to see the energy. I'm excited to see both candidates out all across the country, because the truth is the kind of infrastructure that these campaigns are building, that's what matters for a national election when you bring it together for the midterms.
And Sunny, are you seeing that same kind of excitement on the Republican side?
Well, yes, absolutely. I think we will see big turnout for Republicans tonight. But ultimately, I think the attention is really on the Democrats tonight. This is really a turning point for Democrats to see, are these radical ideologies that are being embraced by the big tent party going to play well with the general electorate, with the swing voters in states like Michigan? You have Al-Sayed being endorsed by Democratic leadership in Congress. That's a big deal for him. That's really a signal that the party is moving even further to the left than it was before. Ultimately, something that's not going to play well for the general electorate this November.
And Amanda, same question for both of you, but Amanda, I'll start with you first. The president's approval numbers have hit a record low for him. The latest poll from Reuters has him at just 35% approval. How much of the president's unfavorability is in play in the primaries?
Well, this is why I'm not worried. Democrats are talking about what people are worried about at the kitchen table. They're worried about gas prices. They're worried about food prices. They're worried about being in a war again. These are the kinds of things that Trump promised not to do. And yet here we are, and families are hurting all across the country. So whether or not you're talking about one or the other of our Democratic candidates, the truth is the Democratic platform right now is talking about what families need most right now at that kitchen table.
And Sunny, how about you? How do you feel going into just 3 months away now from the midterms with President Trump's approval rating at an all-time low?
Well, ultimately, what I will say is this administration inherited a mess from the Biden administration. We know that the president's polling numbers have historically been inaccurate as it relates to what the general electorate feels about the president. What the president's doing right now is enacting policies that are good for the American people, not necessarily politically expedient for him, but that are good long-term for the American people. And I believe that voters see what he is doing. They remember what it was like under the first Trump presidency, where we had the hottest economy in modern history. We're now turning that ship around. We're bringing back the hot American economy. We're bringing back manufacturing, bringing back jobs that the previous administration shipped off to other countries. These are things that are going to motivate the voters to come out this November and put forth their vote, put their name to America First policies that are tried and true and that work.
Amanda, of course, a lot of focus on Michigan, but there are 5 states with primaries tonight. What else are you looking at in particular?
I am looking at the overall engagement and, more to the point, the message around affordability and what this presidency has brought to the American people. It really has brought higher gas prices, higher food prices. You think about things like food assistance and healthcare, and people are losing it right now. That kind of conversation is happening no matter what state you're in, and we don't see an administration who is addressing that at all right now. And that part is going to be really interesting to see what it means for the voters today. Amanda Renteria, Sunny Joy Nelson, thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks.
And staying with politics, a family scandal erupted in full public view today. Embattled Congressman Max Miller of Ohio is accused of domestic abuse by his ex-wife. He denies it, but his former father-in-law, Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno, is now speaking out, calling Miller a madman. Here's our senior political correspondent, Rachel Scott.
Tonight, a family scandal erupting into full view on Capitol Hill. Republican Senator Bernie Moreno of Ohio calling his former son-in-law, Ohio Congressman Max Miller, who is running for re-election, a madman, saying the congressman, who is married to the senator's daughter Emily, is putting the family through hell.
This is truly the 7th level of hell. This has been a horrific experience for my entire family.
The senator's daughter, Emily, claims Congressman Miller, her ex-husband, abused her. In a February police report obtained by ABC News, she claims he threw her against the wall, once held a gun to her head, and another time threw hot water on her. Miller says she's lying. As proof, he said his ex-wife offered to cook him dinner several days after one of the alleged incidents.
6 days later, she offered to cook empanadas for me for dinner. So ask yourself, if I had assaulted her, would she had offered to cook me dinner 6 days later?
Miller's former father-in-law, Senator Moreno, furious.
My daughter lives in constant fear of this man. Deeply in her heart, she fears what this guy is capable of.
Caught in the middle, the couple's 2-year-old daughter. Senator Moreno said he had to pick the child up from Miller over the weekend.
So I meet him at the Bay Village Police Station, because that's the place that we have to go to meet, because I don't know what this guy's capable of. She comes over, gets in our car, we drive away, and if anybody's a parent, she has a little blue bunny that she sleeps with. Max would not hand over the little blue bunny. Literally held it hostage for 48 hours. This girl is crying at night because she can't sleep without her little blue bunny. And his answer is, I'm just not gonna give it to you. So finally yesterday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, yesterday, he lets the little blue bunny go. This is the level of total and complete depravity.
Miller is also accused of physically abusing his daughter.
I have never abused our daughter.
Miller says his daughter was hurt by employees at her daycare. The local Department of Children and Family Services did not find evidence to substantiate allegations of child abuse against him. Senator Moreno says Congressman Miller is not fit for office. But tonight, Miller's saying he's not going anywhere.
So for no second am I going to sit here and continue to be debased by false and baseless allegations and be pushed out of a seat I have worked so hard to represent and done a terrific job for our community.
Our thanks to Rachel Scott. Now to a chilling scene in Ukraine. Disturbing video shows a Russian drone apparently stalking and chasing a food vendor as he runs around his van trying to escape. The vendor survived but was wounded when the drone then exploded. Here's Tom Sufi Burridge.
Tonight, the horrifying moments a Russian drone appears to hunt a defenseless Ukrainian vegetable vendor. The drone buzzing as the man frantically runs around his van, desperately trying to escape. That drone tracking his every move. In an instant, the man ducks for cover, the drone suddenly diving, exploding into a ball of flames. Incredibly, he survives. It hit the car and I was right beside it, the man later said, adding, "It struck and I just fell down." The man suffering a concussion and multiple shrapnel wounds, his wife, who was with him at the time, getting away too. President Zelensky sharing the terrifying video, calling the attack against a civilian evidence that Russia has gone mad. The man selling vegetables saying he tried to wave off the drone, Russia giving no indication as to why it appears this vendor was targeted. It comes 24 hours after Russia says a Ukrainian drone plummeted into a crowded beach at a popular Russian tourist resort, killing 7 people, including 3 children. Ukraine says the Russians shot that drone down, claiming they didn't deliberately target the beach.
Our thanks to Tom. We're tracking several headlines around the world. A solemn scene from the Gaza Strip, where a funeral was held for 112 people who were members of 2 large families. The block where these victims lived was bombed in November of 2023, according to the Gaza Civil Defense. 308 people were killed on the block, including 44 children. Rescue teams were only able to find a third of the victims. The recovery process started this July. Authorities were prevented from accessing the site prior to that. Clouds of gas and ash spread through Guatemala's skies after the Fuego volcano there erupted. The country's disaster management agency said hundreds were evacuated from 8 villages in the danger areas. 10 more communities could be evacuated as ash continues to spread to nearby towns. Moderna has started their phase 1 trial of an Ebola vaccine in Canada to help fight the current outbreak in the Democratic Republic of Congo. There are no FDA-approved vaccines to treat the current strain of Ebola, which has killed more than 1,700 people. The first trial participants have been vaccinated, and testing will continue in Canada. A frightening road rage incident on I-95 in Florida. Police say the suspect forced a family of 3 off the road, sending them crashing into a barbed wire fence. The family had to call 911 while trying to escape. Here's Victor Oquendo.
You guys all right? Tonight, a family of 3 emerging from the woods in South Florida, where deputies say they were hiding after an apparent case of road rage. Their car allegedly forced off a highway by another driver, crashing through a barbed wire fence.
He's trying to run into us.
911 calls capturing the frightening moments as the couple and their young son, on vacation from North Carolina, try to escape.
Yeah, he's trying to wreck our car. He's chasing us around. We're trying to get away from him.
The incident unfolding Saturday north of West Palm Beach after deputies say the family and a relative in a separate car encountered that driver.
Our suspect, who's doing the same thing now to both cars, brake checking them, throwing things at the car, trying to run them off the road.
That relative able to get away before the suspect allegedly does a pit maneuver on the family's car.
We thought we could get off at the exit really quick and lose them, but nope.
Deputies later arresting the suspect, 36-year-old Michael Jeffrey Spires, who claimed the 2 cars hit him first.
This blue car ran into me, so I took off after him.
Authorities say there was no evidence of a prior confrontation with the suspect and victims.
Our thanks to Victor Oquendo. Coming up, we hear from Ariana Grande after widespread concern as the pop star announced that she would step away from the spotlight. What she's saying in response. And all eyes on tonight's primary results with the success of many Democratic Socialist candidates in recent elections. We look at how well these candidates poll across America. Next.
All across America.
Good morning.
Hello. Wherever we are. Welcome. It feels like home.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Man, it's good to be home.
GMA, it's an invitation to come together.
George, how are you? Good morning.
And brighten your morning.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. We used to know each other, but the truth is, I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. God, that's cool. Here we go. And sometimes, Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart.
Let's end this on a high note, huh?
Spider-Man, brand new day. Now playing. Rated PG-13.
Now more than ever, America needs a laugh.
This guy's kind of cute. Hey, little guy.
Idiots. This Friday, these troopers
This is the second time you've tried to kill Farva in a week.
are reporting for duty.
No new info on the guy who did it.
Oh, so it couldn't have been a woman?
Sexist.
Not sexist.
Women can be criminals.
You ever see Ocean's 8?
Enough!
Super Troopers 3, rated R. Only in theaters Friday.
You've never seen anything like this before.
Here it is. I mean, that's incredible.
This place is going to astonish you.
What is that? Oh my gosh.
America's most beautiful natural wonders.
Wow! This is breathtaking.
Whoa, that is pretty amazing.
ABC News and Nat Geo.
This is extraordinary.
In search of
7 Natural Wonders of America, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
My friends and I were young and rich. We had it all.
I totally agree.
Then the most magnetic person I'd ever seen walked into our lives.
The new guy likes you.
There's something very wrong with him.
FX's The Shards, now streaming on Hulu.
Gird your loins.
You got it, dude.
Set your mind to rewind with throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh, snap, sweet niblets.
Celebrate the good times.
Picture this. Sicily. Sing to me, Paolo.
Freedom! Remember the best lines.
You're nasty. You jump our jump jack. Honey, you never looked better.
Then, now, and always.
The best of both. You know the best of both.
That's all. All your favorite throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu. Now totally streaming.
You're watching America's #1 streaming news. Live reporting, breaking new exclusives. Keep streaming with ABC News Live.
With many Americans frustrated about widening income inequality, the organization Democratic Socialists of America says that their group has grown to 120,000 members in 220 local chapters. But what are the tenets of democratic socialism, and would Americans vote for a socialist for president? We take a look tonight by the numbers. 75% of Democrats say that they would consider supporting a Democratic Socialist for president, as according to a Washington Post Ipsos poll conducted online in July. But only 39% of Americans overall said that they would vote for such a candidate. The group's platform supports policies including socialized health care, increasing taxes on the rich, and free pre-kindergarten. But 8% of respondents think that Democratic Socialists stand for free stuff for undeserving people. Compare that to 13% of respondents who said that the party stands for helping ordinary people, workers, and the poor. Just 10% of Republicans polled said that they would consider voting for a Democratic Socialist for president. Democratic socialism is more popular with young people and those with high levels of education. 46% of Americans younger than 30 said that they would consider supporting a Democratic Socialist for president. And 51% of people with postgraduate degrees were also potential supporters. Democratic Socialists seem to be gaining strength, which could pose a challenge for the Democratic Party as it seeks to win mass appeal in 2028. Still ahead, pop star Ariana Grande addresses her fans on why she's stepping away from the spotlight. Mike Muse joins us to discuss that and more when we come back.
He used to be great.
I'm expecting you to help me train him, coach. Tell me what you got no home, nowhere to go, but this gym keeps calling you.
If y'all can see past my mistakes, I promise you I'll give you everything I got. Let's go out with a bang. It's time to lock in.
Yes, coach. It's really remarkable. I just love my job.
The Devil Wears Prada 2, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
My friends and I were young and rich. We had it all.
I totally agree.
Then the most magnetic person I'd ever seen walked into our lives.
The new guy likes you.
There's something very wrong with him.
FX's The Shards premieres August 5th on FX and Hulu.
First thing in the morning, at home, on your way to work, with your coffee, wherever you are. Get the day's first news, first reports from across the world, and the morning's first buzziest stories you'll be talking about all day.
See you here first thing on ABC News Live First.
Should we introduce you first?
Most people know me from Vanderpump Rules, but I'm a mom, a wife, a podcaster. I'm traumatized by reality TV, but I can't stay away from it.
It's like if they're not on your payroll, they don't get to be in your life. Am I here to ice anyone out?
When you said that,
Don't cut me off.
I showed up for you. This time I get to do it on my terms. What could go wrong?
House of Stassi, now streaming on Hulu.
It was the worst case I've ever seen. It's the nightmare.
Really disturbing.
The murder of Angie Dodge.
When you have a child that's murdered, life just gets shattered.
Now, step inside the chilling mystery.
What was waiting in that basement? The ultimate clue.
Man, this is it.
Oh yeah, guys, let's do this. Let's go catch a murderer.
It's been giving me goosebumps.
A total shock.
Follow the clues in this stunning all-new 2020 true crime mystery, The Snare, wherever you listen to podcasts.
Gird your loins.
You got it, Timmy.
Set your mind to rewind with throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh, snap, sweet niblets.
Celebrate the good times.
Picture this. Sicily. Sing to me, Paolo.
Reading. Remember the best lines.
You nasty. You jump, I jump, Jack.
Honey, you never looked better.
Then, now, and always.
The best of both. You know the best of both.
That's all.
All your favorite throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu. Now totally streaming.
The results are set to come in soon from the key Senate primary in the state of Michigan, which could help determine whether Democrats can take back the Senate. We'll have full team coverage tonight, and I am joined now by ABC News contributor and Michigan native, Mr. Mike Muse. So, Mike, you cover, obviously, politics and all things just in the social zeitgeist as well. Let's start with the social zeitgeist and then move on to your beloved state of Michigan. Ariana Grande, obviously, many people were talking about her saying that she's going to step away after this tour is over from any forward-facing public activity. Last night at her concert, she made this statement. I want to hear from that.
The announcement that was made yesterday was not a reactive or impulsive thing. It's a plan that I had quietly made a long time ago, and it's a decision that was made from a thoughtful and empowered place. I heard that my fans were worried that negativity was ruining things for me, but I just have to say that could not be more opposite.
And we also saw her representative statement this weekend that her public appearances have, quote, led to endless ongoing public scrutiny, and much of that has centered around concern about her appearance and her health. What do you think is going on here?
So based upon the statement that she just made, what you're seeing in the cultural zeitgeist is this intersection of her pre-plans is intersecting with the growing social conversation of her outward appearance. And then the questions on social media is asking, has she lost too much weight? And which is raising a concern of her health and raising questions of, are there any eating disorders? Now, what Ariana would say is that she's at her most healthiest right now, and that when people saw her at what they deemed as her quote-unquote normal weight, she said she was her most unhealthiest. Unfortunately, celebrities in this day and age don't have that privilege of anonymity, and they don't have that privilege of keeping things personal to themselves. In this era of social media where the negative Olympics always wins, it's hard to drown out that noise.
The negative Olympics, of course. All right, let's switch gears to politics.
Here in Michigan.
What do you think is going to happen? Because there's a larger storyline here about the Democratic establishment. You have those moderates and then the progressives, and who's going to win, as people describe as in this the soul of America battle.
Yeah. It's exciting to watch tonight, and not just because my biases come from the state of Michigan, but this idea that we've been looking at the socialist movement creeping into the Democratic Party versus the moderate wing of the Democratic Party has been holding. This is what makes Michigan so interesting, because Michigan is a moderate state. It's a battleground state. And so the question is, can a progressive, I want to be clear, I'll say it did not come out as a socialist and said that's not what he is, but can someone with his progressive style of politics win a swing state? That is where the question of electability has come into play. The next question that is coming to play here tonight is the Israel question. Stevens is run on a pro-Israel military support to Israel. Dr. Abdul El-Sayed has said that he is more anti-military support to Israel. So he's seeing that split dynamic. And then how does that translate to November elections? So I'm really going to be watching on the margins, and particularly how much does each candidate win by?
Contrary to the polls, which suggest that El-Sayed can win basically the battle and not necessarily the war, so that he can likely beat Stevens easily in the primary, but not when it comes to actual November election. But you think that he can win both?
I do, and there's two things I'm looking at. If you look at the yard signs that you're seeing, and when you really understand the landscape, you're seeing this interesting split that is occurring where momentum seemingly, if you look at the yard signs, and enthusiasm is on El-Sayed's side. The second data point that I'm looking at is the polls. He is winning under the age of 50 in the polls. I'll be curious to see the margin. Right now, schools and universities are out, and I'm thinking about college and universities that has large student populations. Obviously, not all the students are being registered to vote in the state of Michigan, but the youth vote carries momentum and energy going to a general election.
Mike Muse, always appreciate your analysis and insight. Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is our show for this hour. I'm Linsey Davis. Be sure to stay tuned to ABC News Live for full coverage of tonight's primary results with our political team. It's your voice, your vote. Now just 3 months to go until the November midterms. Thanks so much for streaming with us.
All across America.
Good morning.
Hello. Wherever we are,
welcome home.
It feels like home.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Man, it's good to be home.
GMA, it's an invitation to come together.
Hey, George, how are you? Good morning.
And brighten your morning.
It's really remarkable. I just love my job.
The Devil Wears Prada 2, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Now more than ever, America needs a laugh.
This guy's kind of cute. Hey, little guy.
Idiots. This Friday, these troopers...
This is the second time you've tried to kill Farva in a week.
are reporting for duty.
No new info on the guy who did it.
Oh, so it couldn't have been a woman?
Yeah.
Sexist!
Not sexist.
Women can be criminals.
You ever see Ocean's 8?
Enough!
Super Troopers 3, rated R. Only in theaters Friday.
Wherever news breaks. ABC News Live Prime.
We'll take you there.
Please.
There are 3 victims we know of. The suspect is female, white, late 20s.
Female serial killers.
They kill for power, control.
Why is she telling us who's next?
You have no idea who you're dealing with.
I've been waiting for you.
In Provo, Utah, as the man accused of assassinating Charlie Kirk gets ready for his preliminary hearing, I'm Kana Whitworth. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Tonight, primary voters in 5 states head to the polls. The pivotal midterm elections now just 3 months away. ABC News Live special coverage. Your voice, your vote. 2026, the midterms, begins right now.
This is an ABC News Live special. Your voice, your vote. Right now, results coming in. Critical primaries in 5 states: Virginia, Michigan, Missouri, Kansas, and Washington. Voters head to the polls. November now just 3 months away. The economy. Gas prices on the rise. Conflict in the Middle East stretching pocketbooks here at home. President Trump's agenda on the line. Who will control the House, the Senate? ABC News Live special coverage. Your voice, your vote. 2026, the midterms, begins now. Reporting live from ABC News headquarters in New York, Linsey Davis.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for streaming with us on this primary night. We bring you an ABC News Live special, Your Voice, Your Vote, the midterms. It is 8:30 in the East. 5 states are voting: Virginia, Michigan, Missouri, Kansas, and Washington. Let's get right to the boards, where the first returns are beginning to tell the story. In Virginia, Senator Mark Warner will be the Democratic nominee for Senate, running in November for what he says would be his last term in office. ABC News projects retired Army Major General Burt Mitsusawa will win the Republican nomination for Senate. And just 3 months out from the midterm elections, all eyes are on Michigan and the Democratic Senate primary, becoming a true test for the party's future. Progressive Dr. Abdul Al-Sayed is facing moderate Congresswoman Haley Stevens. Some polls are open in the state until 9 p.m. Eastern. Results are starting to come in there. The winner of the Democratic primary will face former Congressman Mike Rogers, trying again for the Senate after narrowly losing 2 years ago. Michigan is one of Republicans' best shots at flipping a Senate seat this fall. We have our ABC News political powerhouse team assembled tonight to break this all down. Jonathan Karl, Avery Harper with me, of course, at the big board, Rick Klein, Rachel Scott in Washington, Jay O'Brien on the ground in Michigan. Rick, let's start with you. Give us a sense of what you're looking for in particular, these 5 states voting today.
Yeah, Lindsay, by far the most important of the 5 states, and there are some big ones in terms of House races, but by far the most influential and the one we're going to be talking about for most of the night, that's the state of Michigan. This is the marquee matchup, Abdul Al-Sayed versus Haley Stevens. You've got all the progressive energy in the party in behind Abdul Al-Sayed. Haley Stevens has the moderates, has the establishment. The question is, what's the best matchup to go into an election with? And here's why. This is what Michigan looked like at the end of the night in 2024. Donald Trump, who won the state in 2016, lost it in 2020, won it again in 2024, one of the bigger upsets of the night. And I want to pay close attention in particular to this corner of the state. This is the Detroit area. This is where about half of the Democratic vote is going to come today. As you say, a lot of it is blue, or bluish. But the problem is it's a little less blue than it was just a few years ago. That's the vote shift that we saw between 2020 and 2024. That's Donald Trump doing better in even very blue parts of the state than Republicans had in the past, that he had in the past, either because Democrats weren't showing up or because Trump was running up the numbers. That's what Democrats have to overcome, and that's what's driving this big debate right now about what kind of candidate you want to be running in a state like Michigan. And of course, Democrats need to win basically everywhere that's a battleground. They need 4 seats to flip to win the Senate. That has to start with a state like Michigan, where they already have control. If they are then going to begin to go on offense in places like Maine and North Carolina, then Ohio, Iowa, and Texas.
So let's take a look, though, historically, because we know that the president in power, the party, often doesn't do so well.
Yeah. Almost always. And this is what presidents' approval ratings have looked like at a midterm. And then that's what happened in the House of Representatives. You see, often a president has a pretty low approval rating. Donald Trump's approval rating in polling average is now less than 40%, lower than all of these predecessors. You saw even Barack Obama at 50% approval lost 63 seats.
Shellacking.
That's exactly right. And George W. Bush called it a thumping when he lost 30. Then fast forward to Donald Trump. He lost 40 seats that year in his midterm in 2018, even though his approval rating was around the same now. It is hard to imagine that we're talking about a kind of year like that, given redistricting and how partisan these districts have already come. It's just hard to imagine a big wave like that, but there's still a possibility, if not a probability, the Democrats are doing very well this fall.
Anything you can show us as far as results coming in so far tonight?
Yeah, so we're just seeing very little right now, about 3% of the vote out of the state of Michigan. I have my eyes so far on the very early returns. As you see, Al-Sayed up in this early vote. All of it is early vote. It's people that voted by mail. This is the county that has some numbers in that might be interesting. Again, all of this is early vote by mail. Al-Sayed with a decent advantage among voters in the Grand Rapids area. That's one of those areas that had some historical Republican leanings. You might think that Haley Stevens would do well there, given some of the establishment leanings there. But so far, at least, just based on the early vote, Abdul Al-Sayed up a little bit.
All right, and let's go to you, John, with just an overall look at where things stand in the Democratic Party, what you've referred to as the civil war that's really going on between moderates or the base and the progressive wing.
Look, it's a battle for the hearts and minds of the Democratic Party. Look at it as like we saw the opening salvo in 2016 when Bernie Sanders challenged Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination. Nobody thought Bernie Sanders had a chance, and he started a movement, nearly knocked her off. Since then, we have seen Democrats, not just liberal progressive Democrats, but Democratic socialists in ascendance. They took the mayoralty in New York City, Mayor Mamdani, the mayor of Seattle. We're probably going to have a Democratic Socialist mayor in Washington, D.C. We may even have one in Los Angeles. And then you had these primaries earlier this year where Democratic Socialist endorsed candidates knocked off powerful incumbent Democratic members of the House in New York City and in Denver. Now, when you talk to the so-called Democratic establishment, the Democratic leadership as it stands today, what they will tell you is, look, these are deep blue, solidly Democratic places. These are not people that could win on a larger stage. These are not the kind of people that could win nationally. Now, here you have the test in Michigan. Who is right? Because Michigan is the ultimate battleground state. And this isn't a House race deep in Manhattan or in the Bronx. This is a Senate race, a battle in Michigan, a seat that might determine who controls the Senate, but also to send a message over who is ascendant in the Democratic Party going into 2028.
All right, let's bring you in on that, Avery, because you recently spent some time on the ground there in Michigan. Michigan, we know, is a state that it's been 30 years since they last voted a Republican into office in the Senate. When you were listening to the residents, what do their top issues seem to be?
Well, the top issues that I heard folks talk about were issues of campaign finance, surprisingly, and that really harkens to an idea that Abdul al-Sayed shares at the beginning of every single campaign event that he has, getting money out of politics, putting money in your pocket, and Medicare for all. That is a message that I heard resonating with voters in the state of Michigan. And that is also what I heard about affordability, the idea of the cost of living being something that is very important. I heard a lot about utility bills being high, healthcare costs being high, and those are some of the issues that I think that voters are going to be considering as they head to the polls tonight.
Rachel Scott, I want to bring you in here because President Trump has actually been on the ground in Michigan campaigning. How important is a victory for him in the Senate?
Yeah, well, the president knows that this is a state that's critically important. And you heard Rick lay out there that the president won this state in 2016, again in 2024. The president was on the ground there in Oakland County. And that is a place where we talked about decades ago, very much skewed Republicans. It's been turning more and more blue as of late. And what was interesting about this speech that the president gave there, I mean, he kind of dismissed these concerns that Avery's talking about when it comes to the economy. We know that affordability is top of mind for voters across the country, but especially there in Michigan. And the president sort of brushed off saying that gas prices would get better over time. He said that it was like playing a banjo. He's saying that gas prices weren't exactly behaving at the time. And so this is not necessarily the same Michigan, of course, that President Trump is returning back to campaign in hopes of keeping both the Senate and the House for Republicans. This is different, and that is because of the president's own policies when it comes to trade and tariffs. The president putting in place even more tariffs. Michigan's one of 24 states now suing the Trump administration, trying to stop those from going into effect. That has caused a massive impact on the state's auto industry. And then on top of that, this ongoing war with Iran, which we know so many Americans are seeing across the country. These gas prices continue to go up. We know that's also top of mind, also for Michigan voters there in that state too, Linsey.
And on the Republican side, Mike Rogers obviously running uncontested.
Yeah.
But he also has to face some tough questions from potential constituents about these unpopular policies, among them tariffs and the war.
Yes, and it's notable because he has already gotten some tough questions even from reporters, and you could tell that he's trying to figure out how to walk this fine line, right? I mean, Rogers is someone who stands by the president. He supports the president, of course, very much so. But when he's pressed about some of these things, some of the controversies surrounding the president, for instance, whether or not he would actually support the president's trade policy, also talking about whether or not he stands by the president's so-called anti-weaponization fund, right? That massive fund that could have given money to January 6th rioters, including those that attacked police that day. He kind of waffles on it all together. And then when you ask him about Iran and gas prices, he says he's not really hearing that firsthand from the voters that he's talking to. I'm sure that's very different from what Avery heard when she was on the ground speaking to voters there in that state as well. And so he certainly will have to figure that out as he gets a Democratic opponent in this race who will continually hammer him on those issues. issues, Linsey.
And when you've talked to Republicans on the Hill, what are they telling you about the impact that they're potentially concerned that the war in Iran may have?
Yeah, publicly, you will hear Republicans stand by the president repeatedly when it comes to this war with Iran. You will hear them back him on it, that you will hear them say that they believe that they do not want Iran to have a nuclear weapon, which is what the president has long insisted was his reason for going to war and launching this war in the Middle East in the first place. But privately, I could tell you from firsthand experience talking to a number of Republicans over on Capitol Hill and a number of the president's own allies, including some in the White House, there are big concerns about what the impact of this war will have on the midterm elections, especially because we're talking about the economy. And I will tell you, and I know John experienced this too, out on the campaign trail covering Trump, a lot of the president's supporters always bring up either immigration or the economy as two big reasons why they ultimately supported him. And right now, Americans are paying more money for gas. They're seeing things go up and down with the president's ongoing tit-for-tat trade war. And that is a very hard reality for a lot of voters to ignore when it comes to their pocketbooks and what the political reality is going to be for them heading into November. This war right now has no end. It may not be over by the time we get to the midterm elections, and that certainly could have a very big impact on Republicans' chances of hanging on to both chambers of Congress, Linsey.
All right, Rachel, thank you. Jay O'Brien, I want to bring you in here because, of course, we've talked about already tonight how make or break Michigan is as far as the Senate and control potentially for Democrats. When we're talking about Stevens and Al-Sayed, give us a sense of young voters. You're on the ground there in Michigan. What you're hearing from them, do they seem to favor one over the other?
Yeah, and we've talked to a lot of them here tonight, Linsey, at Al-Sayed headquarters, and the number of those that we've talked to, particularly here, obviously, backing this progressive heavyweight candidate, say tonight this room wants to send a message to the Democratic establishment, because the reality here is Haley Stevens is heavily favored by the Democratic establishment in this state and across the country. Take, for instance, Gary Peters, who's the retiring Democratic senator whose retirement opened up this primary fight between Al-Sayed and Haley Stevens. He endorsed Haley Stevens to be his successor, saying that she would be a good senator. And so the question really here is, where does this issue of electability fall, and where does this issue of essentially sticking the thumb in the eye of the Democratic establishment fall? As Avery said, I've talked to voters over the course of the day today, particularly younger Democratic voters, who say they feel, as two put it to me, that the American dream has escaped them, and that was one of the things that propelled their vote tonight. And they also like the idea, one told me, that Al-Sayed is backed by these progressive heavyweights like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, like Bernie Sanders. One did say to me, though, that her top issue on the other side of this was electability. That's what Haley Stevens has hammered over and over and over again, pitching voters that she can get elected in this critical swing state in November, and Al-Sayed can't. And as John said, this is going to be a key test of that. Just to give you a sense of the margins here, in 2024, Mike Rogers was the Republican candidate for Senate as well. He was running against a different candidate, Alyssa Slotkin, who's now a sitting Democratic senator. He only lost by about 21,000 votes. And look, that was a much different year. It was a general election, but it gives Republicans, and the ones that I've talked to, hope that they can flip this state. And if they have a progressive on the ballot, some Republicans have told me they believe it makes it easier. The question is, do Democratic primary voters tonight buy that argument?
And of course, we've already been spending a lot of time, in particular, on the Senate race there in Michigan. But you and I were discussing earlier that the 7th District, Congressional District, also a location where you have two establishment Democrats going up against a progressive who has been endorsed by Bernie Sanders. How do you think or anticipate that this may shake out tonight?
And in that district, Linsey, it's notable because the two, let's say, moderate candidates, for instance, one is an ex-U.S. ambassador, the other is an ex-Navy SEAL, going up against someone who was a progressive organizer and an activist in Democratic politics who's been endorsed by Bernie Sanders. And the question is, if that district gets a Democratic socialist-backed candidate elevated to the top tonight, it would be perhaps 6, maybe 7 congressional races, depending upon how the night goes, where you've had Democratic Socialist-backed candidates unseat or, in other cases, just supersede these establishment picks. As John mentioned earlier, there is this kind of momentum that Democratic Socialists feel they have. The overall question is, does that carry into November? And is it electable on a statewide scale like it would be in Michigan?
All right, Jay, thank you. John, I want to bring you back in here because, of course, President Trump not on any tickets, and potentially in perpetuity.
Yes, the Constitution would say that.
But what kind of influence does he still have tonight?
Look, he hangs over all of this. He, on the Democratic side, he is the motivating force. And his ability, his endorsement, let's face it, on the Republican side, it's not every race, but it's damn near every race. When Donald Trump endorses a candidate, that candidate has a huge advantage. He is the dominant figure in the party, and his name may never be on a ballot ever again. But for these midterms, and I would certainly suggest for the next presidential, even without his name on the ballot, he's going to be a motivating factor for both sides.
Still looms large. All right, the night is early. We are just getting started on this primary night in 5 states across the country. We'll be right back. Stick with us.
What's the most honored and awarded streaming news program?
This is ABC News Live Prime. We're tracking several stories breaking this evening. In the flood zone, the painstaking search for the missing continues.
Wherever you stream, Linsey Davis is right there for you.
From Paris, here at the Vatican, from Washington, D.C., here at Notre Dame Cathedral. So impressive.
Newsmaking.
Your testimony was so critical to Epstein's arrest. Do you think that the Epstein files should be released to the public?
Spotlight interviews you'll only see here, exclusive.
Chaos breaks out. Your husband is whisked away. What did that moment feel like for you?
Surprising.
What's next for you all?
More of this. ABC News Live Prime. The hottest stars as you haven't seen, holding nothing back.
That's a really real question you ask.
And always ready to go there.
Many people have said you all are Hollywood's most enduring bromance.
Yeah. It's the Emmy-nominated show you're just gonna love and want more of.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Prime with Linsey Davis.
All right.
Stream ABC News Live Prime wherever you stream.
It's really remarkable. I just love my job.
The Devil Wears Prada 2, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. We used to know each other. But the truth is, I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. God, that's cool. Here we go. And sometimes, Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. Let's end this on a high note, huh?
Spider-Man, brand new day. Now playing. Rated PG-13.
You've never seen anything like this before.
Here it is. I mean, that's incredible.
This place is going to astonish you.
What is that? Oh my gosh.
America's most beautiful natural wonders.
Wow! This is breathtaking.
Whoa, that is pretty amazing.
ABC News and Nat Geo.
This is extraordinary.
In search of
7 Natural Wonders of America, now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
All right, let's go, come on!
Let's go! Super Bowl 61 is coming.
Let's go!
And everyone's going.
Okay, let's go! Let's go! Come on, let's go! Let's do it!
Let's go. Because once the game starts.
Let's go! You better get on that bus.
Well, don't just stand there.
Everything else stops.
Welcome Welcome back to our midterm primary coverage on ABC News Live, and want to bring in now ABC News political contributor and founder of More Perfect Union, Faz Shakir. Faz, thanks so much for joining us. You're a supporter of progressive Democrat Abdul El-Sayed and longtime advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders. Do you think that the future of the Democratic Party is on the ballot tonight? What are your predictions?
For sure, and we're doing great. One thing I would note here is that when we look at the total turnout in Michigan, Linsey, it's going to shock a lot of people. We're going to have one of the highest turnouts ever. When Governor Whitmer won in the 2018 primary in Michigan, there were about 1.1 million people who voted. Alyssa Slotkin won in 2024 in a Democratic primary that drew under 1 million people. I think tonight we're going to have hundreds of thousands more people voting. So what does that tell you? There's a huge amount of enthusiasm for a particular direction in this country. I think Abdul's on the path to winning a pretty significant portion of them. And it tells you what the coalition needs to be in order to win the general election against Mike Rogers. This is not going to be a sleepy race. This is not one of those establishment races. James Carville used to say, you play dead. Just say nothing, do nothing, and let the Republican bury themselves. Abdul El-Sayed is not that kind of candidate. He's going to go and campaign on a vision of expanding healthcare, getting money out of politics that I think engineers a lot of enthusiasm and brings out people. Last point I'll say about this is when I'm looking at the numbers of people who are voting today, I'm already finding tens of thousands of people who did not vote in the last 3 general elections. Tens of thousands of people coming into the process. And then you look at some of the people who are voting in the Democratic primary, a lot of them did not vote in the Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump election cycle. We're going to find, I think, in my view, 50,000 plus people who did not vote in the 2024 election. That's how you win. You get them back engaged, back excited.
El-Sayed has argued that American resources should be focused on needs at home rather than wars overseas. How much do you think that his stance on war has really shaped this race?
His stance, of course, as the Iran war becomes more of a boondoggle and a quagmire, obviously is the right one. It's right for policy reasons. We need to end this war today. However, it's also true that AIPAC, the spending of AIPAC, played a huge amount of influence in this race. We're talking about one of the races that will have had the most amount of outside spending in history. And we're talking over $50 million spent for Haley Stevens' campaign. By comparison, probably $3 to $4 million in outside spending for Abdul, right? So if you're looking at $54 million for Haley, $4 million for Abdul, 93% of those dollars coming in on Haley Stevens' side, and she loses by a fair amount. You have to ask why. And I think, in my view, AIPAC, in their view, in being hellbent on the advocacy that we have to stand by Israel even once they lead us into this war, even as they use taxpayer dollars to engage in heinous activities in Gaza, that American people are sick and tired of it. And they know we have priorities here at home. And Abdul has, with integrity, indicated this is not a position he's come to by putting his finger in the wind. You get a sense, like Mamdani, like so many other progressive candidates, that this is a place of core conviction, and it is helping him in a big way. There's no reason why AIPAC would need to spend $50 million to defeat him, except if they were scared about his direction.
Just about 30 seconds here, but Republicans say El-Sayed is no match for Mike Rogers in the midterms. Are they right? Is he a riskier candidate for a general election?
He's a more exciting candidate in the general election. And as I was mentioning before, Linsey, there's going to be much more enthusiasm. There's going to be much more attention to it. And in this case, this isn't just like, Donald Trump is doing terrible things like most Democratic campaigns are comfortable running that kind of campaign. Abdul's going to say, no, we got a vision of expanding Medicare in this country, of getting money out of politics. He's going to put specific agenda items on the table that I think will engineer a compelling coalition of young people, working class people who will come out and vote for him in ways that they would not have voted for an establishment candidate, and therefore help him win by a significant margin in the general election.
All right, Faz, thank you. And joining us now is ABC News political contributor and former advisor to President Trump, Danielle Alvarez. Danielle, thank you for joining us. Let's get back into Michigan politics here with Republican Senate candidate Mike Rogers. President Trump, as you know, has said that Rogers is one of the best candidates we have anywhere. What would you say to critics who claim that he's loyal to Trump and national GOP politics rather than the interests of Michigan voters?
Well, I think that Mike Rogers is an incredible candidate. I think Michigan is a very important seat for Republicans. Of course, the opportunity to win that seat, Democrats really are going to have to fight hard, cook political, has that Senate seat as a toss-up. Of course, Rogers, being an Army veteran, also spending 14 years in Congress, most recently voted for the president's working class tax cuts. We know how popular that measure was in putting money back in the pockets of working class families, especially as the economy is top of mind. Of course, it's going to be a dogfight. Michigan is probably going to be the most expensive race, Senate race in the country this cycle. But he has the apparatus, he has the track record to win.
And we've seen a number of progressive Democrats do well in primaries across the country. So why do you think that Abdul El-Sayed is no match for Rogers should he win come November?
Well, it's one thing to do well in a Democrat primary, and we're certainly seeing a Democrat civil war taking place. I mean, we've seen it, of course, in New York City and in other primaries across the country. He's very famously being called the Michigan Mamdani, and that's a big problem for Democrats come the general. It's just not where the voters are in the general election, not, soft Democrat voters. It's certainly where voters are in the primary. It's a reckoning and a civil war that the Democrat Party is happening, of course, between the establishment and the very progressive wing, but it's not going to be popular in the general.
Danielle Alvarez, thank you so much. Our special primaries coverage continues right after the break.
What's the most honored and awarded streaming news program?
This is ABC News Live Prime. We're tracking several stories breaking this evening. In the flood zone, the painstaking search for the missing continues.
Wherever you stream, Linsey Davis is right there for you.
From Paris, here at the Vatican, from Washington, D.C., here at Notre Dame Cathedral. So impressive.
Newsmaking.
Your testimony was so critical to Epstein's arrest. Do you think that the Epstein files should be released to the public?
Spotlight interviews you'll only see here, exclusive.
Chaos breaks out. Your husband is whisked away. What did that moment feel like for you?
Surprising.
What's next for you all?
More of this. ABC News Live Prime. The hottest stars as you haven't seen, holding nothing back.
That's a really real question you ask.
And always ready to go there.
Many people have said you all are Hollywood's most enduring bromance.
Yeah. It's the Emmy-nominated show you're just gonna love and want more of.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Prime with Linsey Davis.
All right.
Stream ABC News Live Prime wherever you stream.
Gird your loins.
You got it, dude.
Set your mind to rewind with throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh, snap, sweet niblets.
Celebrate the good times.
Picture this. Sicily. Sing to me, Paolo.
Freedom! Remember the best lines.
You're nasty. You jump jack. Honey, you never looked better.
Then, now, and always.
The best of both. You know the best of both.
That's all.
All your favorite throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu. Now totally streaming.
America's #1 news, ABC News, now streaming 24/7 on Disney Plus.
All across America.
Good morning. Hello.
Wherever we are,
welcome home.
It feels like home.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Man, it's good to be home.
GMA, it's an invitation to come together.
Hey, George, how are you? Good morning.
And brighten your morning.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. We used to know each other. But the truth is, I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. God, that's cool. Here we go. And sometimes, Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart. Let's end this on a high note, huh?
Spider-Man, Brand New Day, now playing. Rated PG-13.
I'm Rachel Scott, traveling with President Trump in Geneva. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
Good evening, everyone, and thanks so much for streaming with us on this primary night. We bring you an ABC News Live special, Your Voice, Your Vote, the midterms. Americans heading to the polls in 5 states tonight, and polls have now closed across the state in Michigan. Let's take a look at the boards in the biggest race of the night on the Democratic side for the Senate seat in Michigan. It is a must-win ultimately in November in order for Democrats to have control of the Senate. And you see there Abdul Al-Sayed pretty handily beating Stevens at this point, but this is only 6% of the vote in so far. Also in House Congressional District number 7 there in Michigan on the Democratic side, William Lawrence pretty significantly beating the competitors there, and he is actually the more progressive candidate, while the other two are considered to be more the establishment candidates. Tom Barrett, projected winner on the Republican side in Congressional District number 7 there. And for governor of Michigan, again, this is 16% of the votes, or a little bit more there, but Jocelyn Benson handily beating Swanson in that race. On the Republican side for governor of Michigan, you have John James with a significant lead over Johnson and Cox, but only 10% so far of the vote in right there. All right, so Rick, what are you saying? We have 6% of the vote in, but so far looking like a good night for El-Sayed.
Yeah, look, 6% of the expected vote, so a lot of the vote, especially from Detroit and the Detroit area, not in yet. That's going to be about half of your vote in the Democratic primary right down there. So I want to get back to that in a second. Now, the dark blue counties are ones that we have El-Sayed with the lead. The lighter blue, there are fewer of them right now, or where Haley Stevens is in the lead. And most of the Stevens counties are smaller rural counties, at least so far. But let's walk through where El-Sayed's campaign has to feel good. I mentioned earlier Grand Rapids, Kent County. That's where we've got a 2,000 vote lead for El-Sayed. A lot of that is the early vote. We have a significant chunk of the vote from Washtenaw County. This is where El-Sayed should and is running the table. He's up by about 15,000 votes. That is the county that includes the University of Michigan. It's where El-Sayed lives. It's where the progressive base of Michigan is truly based. And maybe just as significant, a smaller county just to the north, Livingston County. That was key to Governor Gretchen Whitmer's campaigns. She did very well there, actually running against El-Sayed the first time in running for governor. El-Sayed, again, with the lead there. Now, what we see so far in Macomb County, which is a giant county that is going to be very important for both campaigns, particularly for the Stevens campaign, that's a slight edge right now with only about 5% of the vote in. Again, though, absolutely nothing at all from Oakland County right to the west of that. That is Stevens territory. That is her congressional district, and very little so far in Detroit, only 2%. Now, this is fascinating. Not only is it the biggest city, the biggest county in the state, it is where the biggest base of black voters is in Detroit, and right outside of that in Dearborn, where the biggest Muslim population in the nation lives per capita. El-Sayed, of course, would be the first ever U.S. senator who's a Muslim. So a lot of information still going to have to come in, a lot of votes still to be counted. But so far, El-Sayed building up a lead of about 20,000 votes.
All right, we hear the bell there, and ABC News can project that on to the Democratic side, Governor of Michigan, Jocelyn Benson, is the projected winner. John, I want to just jump back in here with you, because we were talking about this special interest money before we went to break. And in particular, AIPAC really has impacted Stevens. And the famous Jerry Maguire line, "Show me the money." How much does where you get your money from for your campaign really matter when it comes to
Well, look, first of all, just talk about the money overall. Haley Stevens has spent vastly more than Abdul Al-Sayed and super PACs supporting the two candidates. 12-to-1 advantage in super PAC spending. We're talking millions and millions of dollars more buying television ads for Haley Stevens. Did it work? A lot of that money, most of that money, came from the American Israeli Public Affairs Committee, AIPAC, the super powerful pro-Israel lobbying organization. It's a bipartisan organization. It has supported winning candidates on the Democratic and Republican side for years, and they went in huge. Their super PAC, called the United Democracy Project. The question is, did it work or did it backfire? And if you talk to the El-Sayed campaign, people supporting him, they think that this energized his campaign. So he was buried. I mean, the money advantage was all Stevens, but his central issue, one of them, was money in politics. And his second central issue was the war in Iran and the influence of Israel and what happened in Gaza. So here you have those two issues coming together, and he portrayed her as a candidate bought and paid for by the pro-Israel lobby, and it energized his campaign. The question is, did it backfire for Stevens?
We'll
All
find
that
out.
money.
We'll find out soon enough. You were on the ground there in Michigan, asked Stevens in particular about the money. How did she respond?
She says that there's no difference in super PACs that are spending money for her than there is in terms of the super PACs that are spending money for Abdul al-Sayed. She told me that the only influence that she pays attention to are that of Michiganders. I think that is going to be a hard thing to sell to some of these voters, especially because it's become a major line of attack for Abdul al-Sayed as he appeals to voters across the state. And I want to take it even a step further, beyond just speaking about AIPAC and about the money that's being sent to Israel. He's connecting it to issues that hit people closer to home. It's the same political system, he is saying, that is accepting corporate PAC money, that's accepting money from special interests, that's sending money to Israel, that's not lowering your utility bills, that's not helping you pay your grocery bill. It's not helping you with the cost of living. And that is a message that has resonated for many voters as we see al-Sayed lead at this early point in the night.
Also, the black vote is significant in Michigan. How are you seeing Stevens versus al-Sayed really try to get their vote?
Yeah, I actually went to both candidates, went to black communities, and I was able to see how they are trying to appeal to black voters who represent a very significant portion of the electorate in the state of Michigan, about 13% of the electorate when you look at some of those exit polls from 2024. And what al-Sayed is messaging is that there is shared economic grievances. He talks about his experience as someone who ran the Department of Health in Detroit, whereas Haley Stevens is speaking to and leaning very heavily into her experience with the Obama administration, talking about her work with the auto rescue, which gives her credibility not only with working class voters, but with organized labor, with black voters who tend to be more pragmatic, are looking to her experience as something that they want to support. And so I know when her campaign is looking at the map tonight, they're looking at places like Detroit. They've been going to a lot of black churches. The event that I went to with her was actually held in a church where there were pastors and congregants who see her as a fighter. But it remains to be seen if she's going to be able to generate the excitement that will be needed for her to win statewide.
Looking at the board, 17% of the voting. You were looking at Oakland County in particular, where it seemed like Stevens had just a slight edge.
Yeah, this was a big chunk of vote that just came in since you last came to me, Linsey, and we're seeing a lot of the vote that came in. It's helped Haley Stevens close the gap, but she's still behind by about 20,000 votes. Oakland County is her district. That is Bloomfield, that's Pontiac, that's Troy, Royal Oak. These are some of the wealthier suburbs just outside of Detroit. That's where her congressional district is. She needs to be winning big there. Right now, she's winning little there. 60% of the vote in, which means you don't have as much ground to make up. So again, still nothing from Detroit, still very strong numbers for al-Sayed out of some of the places he needed to, including in Ann Arbor. But this right here, you could say is a little bit of a mixed bag for Haley Stevens. Yes, she's winning, but netting only 2,800 votes out of about 60% of it in. If you fast forward that to the end of the night, maybe she nets 5,000 out of that. She's down now by 20,000. So that's difficult to make up the ground there. She's going to need Detroit to come in big for her if she's going to have a chance to make up that kind of ground.
All right, just flag me as soon as you start seeing Wayne County come in there, Rick. And now I want to bring in for more on tonight's races in the midterms in Democratic Congressman Emanuel Cleaver of Missouri, the Democratic nominee in Missouri's 5th district. He's now defending a seat redrawn by Republican redistricting. Thank you so much for joining us. Just tell us, why did you decide to stay on the ballot and run in what is now an uphill race to stay in the House?
Well, look, stopping at third base adds no more to the score than striking out. So I've been in this thing for quite a while, and I have never decided that I was going to stop swinging just because the race was difficult. So, and the way this thing happened, which is the Missouri General Assembly took its orders from Donald Trump to do this redistricting. And so this is not a Missouri thing. This originated in Washington. And I'm going to stay in it. I'm disappointed, but not surprised. I'm frustrated, but it's not fatal. So we got a race out in front of us. We're going to have suits filed tomorrow. They may or may not, change things in front of the Missouri Supreme Court, but we're going to do everything we can to try to get the race in an honest position. Because redistricting in Missouri, mid-decade redistricting, is a synonym for cheating, and you can't even know for sure whether you have 800,000 people in the district, because all of the districts in the United States are supposed to have about 800,000 people or so, and they usually make that decision at the end of the decade when the census is done. Not Missouri, not this time. Trump said that he wanted it done now, and they're doing it right now.
Do you think that Republican redistricting efforts will limit Democrats' potential gains this fall across the map?
No, I think they're going to continue to try to cheat. But I think when you do polling, which is what we've done, I can tell you now that all over the state of Missouri, not just in the urban centers, but in rural America, white, black, urban, rural, people did not like mid-district redistricting. And so I think that they may be in for something that they didn't count on. I don't think the people like cheating. So I think we're going to run a race that gives people information about my history and what I've been able to do over the last 20 years in Congress, which I think is substantial. And I think the members of the Missouri General Assembly are going to probably do whatever they need to do to support whoever wins the primary tonight on the Republican side. Or maybe the Supreme Court may fool many of us and do the right thing.
As you know, there's a major Democratic primary in the Michigan Senate race tonight. The Congressional Black Caucus Campaign Committee has endorsed Congresswoman Haley Stevens, but there's a lot of progressive energy around Abdullah El-Sayed. Where do you think things stand on this race?
Well, the tendency we have is to support the incumbent, and we do that because we know them and we know how they function in a crisis. We know how they function when tough votes come to the floor, and so we generally will go with the incumbent. Because in this case, she's a proven legislator. She's tough. Nobody runs over her on the floor or in committee, and we just don't see any reason to try to kick her out. Now we got a tough race coming up in the Senate race in Michigan, and we can't afford, I don't think, to ruin a chance to take the Senate and the House, and because that's the best way to stop Trumpism is having both the House and the Senate.
And just before we let you go, you're going to be 82 in October. What do you say to critics who say, look, it's time to get some new energy in the House? Yeah,
I don't look 80.
You don't. That is fair.
And I don't act 80, and I don't fumble around in terms of my verbiage. So I think we take people who can produce. I would never stay around if I was blanking out and falling asleep and getting in front of cameras and just staring. I would be long gone. I think my kids would have come up and picked me up in a truck and brought me home.
Fair enough. All right. Congressman Cleaver, we thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really appreciate it. I know you were looking at I know you're back now at Michigan, but we were just looking at Missouri and what's going on there with Cori Bush, who actually, I think we have a projection there. We can actually say that Bell is going to beat Bush. Cori Bush actually had tried to unseat Wesley Bell, who unseated her the last go-round, pretty handily beating Cori Bush here.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise. I mean, this is a rematch. Of course, Bell defeated Bush in a primary before, and a lot of money poured in there to try to defend Wesley Bell. And our friend, Mr. Cleaver, who doesn't look 82 years old, is going to be the Democratic nominee there. Linsey, it's worth pausing for a second to describe what redistricting means for the map, because Missouri is one of the states that redrew its districts at the behest of Donald Trump. Now, Virginia tried as well, and they came really close to succeeding. The state Supreme Court there overturned it, so that means it was kind of a wash. But Missouri is expected to add 1 to the Republican margin. And if you look at all of these numbers, you add all of these up and you net out everything here that the Democrats are likely to get, you're talking about the Republican Party getting a net plus 10 out of redistricting, thereabouts. So before anything starts, they are 3 seats up. Give them another 10 before you even start counting votes, essentially. You don't know that until people vote. And the situation in Missouri is really stark. This is what the map looked like before, a 6-2 Republican advantage. You had a heavily Democratic district in Kansas City and another one in St. Louis. While the Republicans kept the one in St. Louis, they destroyed the one in Kansas City. They split into 3 different parts, all of which are Republican favored. It means that 6-2 advantage likely to go to 7-1 unless Congressman Cleaver is somehow successful.
Can we just come back to Cori Bush for a second? Because since we were talking about AIPAC, I think it's important in Democratic Socialists of America. Cori Bush is a member of Democratic Socialists of America. She was strongly opposed by AIPAC. AIPAC spent very heavily in that race as well. And that's one where the AIPAC-supported candidate defeated the Democratic Socialist candidate. So we may see mixed results, as we have seen throughout this primary season.
And, of course, she was very strong in favor of Palestinians. Maybe people would say that, in part, is why she lost her seat the last go-around. I want to go out to Rachel Scott. And, Rachel, you've been following this race as well.
Yeah, exactly. This is going to be a major loss for progressives. If you even just look at who these 2 candidates were supported by, Bush on one end supported by progressives like Senator Bernie Sanders, Bell on the other hand supported by Nancy Pelosi, by Hakeem Jeffries, right, to keep his seat in Congress. What is interesting here for me, Lindsay, when we're talking so much about the economy and also this war in the Middle East as well, Bell repeatedly criticized Bush for focusing too much on Israel during this campaign, and talking over and over about issues he said that people in their state and their district were not focused on. He had this line where he would go out and say that the M in Missouri does not stand for Middle East because he believed that voters and the people that are in his district wanted to actually talk about the economy, wanted to talk about affordability. And so I'm going to be really interested to see what his message is, especially when he goes up against a Republican candidate heading into the midterm elections, where certainly the economy, the Middle East, the war will be a center focus of that race as well, too. Lindsay.
You're surprised that Bell, Avery, want to bring you in, you're surprised that Bell beat her so handily?
You know, I think this really points to voting behaviors by Black Americans. You look at that district, it's just about half Black. And there are a lot of conventional wisdom that says that Black voters tend to be a moderating voice within the Democratic Party. And that's what we saw here. We saw the Black voters in this district really align themselves with the more moderate candidate here in Wesley Bell, repudiating Cori Bush in her attempts to reclaim her spot in Congress. And yes, she was somebody who focused a lot on building a national profile. And that's something that this voters in the St. Louis area decided to reject tonight.
And Rick, as you're waiting for the numbers to keep coming in, want to bring you back in here, John. Just in general, we're focusing on these 5 states, but want to go to Ohio for a moment because one of the top storylines that's been playing out today, Max Miller and these allegations of domestic abuse. Not really the first time he's dealt with similar accusations.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a terrible story. The allegations which Max Miller denies up and down come from his now ex-wife, that he abused her, that he abused their 2.5-year-old daughter. And it's become this spectacle where his ex-wife just happens to be the daughter of Senator Bernie Moreno, the Republican, very pro-Trump senator from Ohio. And he came out today and talked about being in the 7th circle of hell with all that's going out, and essentially calling Max Miller a madman and saying he needs to resign from Congress. He needs to get out of this race. And there's been a push to get him out of the race. Well, one deadline already passed today at, I think it was 4:30 p.m. That would have been the point that he would have had to have dropped out to have a new primary election, a special primary election. Now, he can still, if he drops out by this weekend, the Republican leaders can have a flash convention in the state, and replace him on the ballot. Absolutely no indication any of that is going to happen. But this is something else. I mean, Max Miller is somebody who worked in the Trump White House in the first term. Donald Trump encouraged him to run for that seat in the first place back in 2022, to run against a Republican member of Congress who voted to impeach him. He won that race. And then he found he was accused by Trump's one of his press secretaries, Stephanie Grisham. They had a brief relationship, and she accused him of sexual abuse. And again, these are charges that he completely denied. But he's faced these charges over and over again. And there's been a movement, some behind the scenes, some of it from his former father-in-law, very much in front of the cameras now, to get him out of the race, but no indication it's going to happen.
And Rachel Scott, I want to bring you back in here because it's our understanding that President Trump actually called him today and tried to kind of lightly suggest that he should get out of the race.
Yeah, and you heard there from John. I mean, the president is very close to Miller, and sources told me that the president got on the phone with him, and he essentially raised questions and concerns about whether or not he can actually win this race, given all of these allegations that are stacked against him. Miller did acknowledge that this reporting was accurate. He said that he pushed back on the president, repeatedly saying, "Look what you did. You defied the odds. I can do this as well." But of course, Linsey, these are very serious allegations. And of course, it's not just coming from his ex-wife. It's also coming from Stephanie Grisham. As John just outlined as well, there's another woman who has made similar allegations as well. And behind the scenes over on Capitol Hill, certainly you have a number of Republicans who are concerned about how all of this looks and are encouraging him to reconsider. And again, he's already missed that one key deadline. The question now, does he change his mind? He's been very defiant when he has been questioned about this repeatedly on whether or not he will actually get out of the race, Linsey.
And we know that Senator Moreno has said that he's unfit for office, but what are we hearing from other party leaders?
So far, silence when it comes to House Republican leadership. I could tell you that I personally went to Speaker Mike Johnson's office today repeatedly to ask if they had any comment on these allegations, if the speaker had talked to Miller, if the speaker wants Miller to stay in the race. And I got nothing back at all. The speaker has not commented on this. He will certainly be asked about this when he returns back to Capitol Hill. He's out on the road right now, continuing this road tour, hoping to help bring issues to the forefront ahead of the midterm elections. He'll also be obviously campaigning as well with some candidates as well. But it is remarkable that we have not heard anything from House Republican leadership at all on the matter, especially when you have President Trump, who publicly has called him a very good man, but privately, as we know from our reporting, and something that Miller acknowledged, has encouraged him to reconsider whether or not he stays in this race, Linsey.
Rachel, thank you.
And the House Ethics Committee has opened an investigation into all of this. Now, we won't hear anything in time for him to be forced out of this race or not, but they're looking into it.
But it's important because this stands in direct contrast to the reaction of Republicans when it came to Democrats who were embroiled in scandal, the likes of Graham Plattner and Eric Swalwell. And so it will be interesting to see exactly how all of this plays out. It's also really important, the fact that the silence is deafening from Republicans on this. But if President Trump is speaking about this privately, we all know that his voice in this current Republican Party is all powerful. And so if he is going to come out publicly, that could really move things in this race. I'll tell you that there are Democrats who are eyeing this seat, Ohio's 7th congressional district, as a possible pickup opportunity, given the disturbing details that continue to emerge around this story. But that's still a very Republican district. So it would definitely be an uphill battle for any Democrat there.
All right. It seems like the votes are trickling in, 18% so far in Michigan.
Yeah, and a pretty stubborn 20,000 vote or so lead for El Sayed, even as these numbers come in. And I want to take a look at two counties in particular, because there's a much different portrait that's emerging from the home base of Haley Stevens and what the home base of Abdul El Sayed is. So start with Oakland County. That's about 16% of the vote traditionally. She's netting out of that about 2,800 votes, about 3,000 votes. That's her home territory. That's where she needs to win big. Contrast that with El Sayed. This is his home territory. It's only about a third of the size, but he's getting 8,000 to 17,000 votes out of that. So that is how you win an election, is you run it up with the enthusiasm in your home base. We're not seeing that in the early indications so far. A lot of vote left, particularly in Detroit area. Like we said, that is going to be a split vote, and it's an enormous amount of vote. But if I'm Abdul Al-Sayed, I'm looking at the numbers right now and saying, I am getting what I need out of my home base. This is the University of Michigan. This is the liberal bastion of the state. And man, I am romping. That is a 2-to-1 margin. Meanwhile, guess what? I'm, holding it pretty close, just within a couple of points. And it's a huge county, right? So there's an opportunity for a lot of votes. Right now, we're not seeing Haley Stevens, though, build a big pad where she might need it.
All right, Rick, thank you. I want to bring Jay O'Brien back in. We got to assume that Al-Sayed's campaign is pretty happy with these numbers they're seeing. Oh, we don't have Jay at the moment, but we can
we can assume that.
Yes, we can assume that they're content at this point. But also in Michigan, we have to, I guess, underscore that tariffs are a big issue there, right? And the war. There are so many of these quote unquote unpopular Trump policies that are playing out in this battleground state. Yeah,
and look, Trump has billed his tariffs in part as a way to protect Michigan. You're going to, protect the auto industry by putting huge tariffs on all imported cars. But what we have seen is the tariffs have had a real impact on people's pocketbooks in Michigan. Goods coming in from Canada. So the tariff, and look, Democrats feel this is a very good environment to gain ground in Michigan. And what you hear from Democratic kind of, the Democratic establishment per se, people like Gretchen Whitmer, the outgoing governor, Chuck Schumer, the Senate leader, what you hear is this is our chance to, keep this seat and gain ground in Michigan if we have the right candidates. And they're warning that Abdul Al-Sayed will be radioactive to the kind of independent voters that have often driven Michigan. But I think that the big question here is, how do you excite people to get out and vote? And that's what Al-Sayed says that he's doing.
Much more on that right after the break, coming up on this special primary night. Stay with us.
My friends and I were young and rich. We had it all.
I totally agree.
Then the most magnetic person I'd ever seen walked into our lives.
The new guy likes you.
There's something very wrong with him.
FX's The Shards premieres August 5th on FX and Hulu.
All right, let's go, come on!
Let's go!
Super Bowl 61 is coming.
Let's go!
And everyone's going.
Okay, let's go! Let's go! Come on, let's go! Let's do it!
Let's go. Because once the game starts...
Let's go! You better get on that bus.
Well, don't just stand there.
Everything else stops. Now more than ever, America needs a laugh.
This guy's kind of cute. Hey, little guy.
Idiots. This Friday, these troopers
This is the second time you've tried to kill Farva in a week.
are reporting for duty.
No new info on the guy who did it.
Oh, so it couldn't have been a woman?
Sexist.
Not sexist.
Women can be criminals.
You ever see Ocean's 8?
Enough.
Super Troopers 3, rated R. Only in theaters Friday.
Should we introduce you first?
Most people know me from Vanderpump Rules, but I'm a mom, a wife, a podcaster. I'm traumatized by reality TV, but I can't stay away from it.
It's like if they're not on your payroll, they don't get to be in your life. Am I here to ice anyone out?
When you said that,
Don't cut me off.
I showed up for you. This time I get to do it on my terms. What could go wrong?
House of Stassi, now streaming on Hulu.
Hi, my name is Peter Parker. We used to know each other. But the truth is, I'm not just Peter Parker. I'm Spider-Man. God, that's cool. Here we go. And sometimes, Spider-Man has to do the hard thing, even if it breaks Peter Parker's heart.
Let's end this on a high note, huh?
Spider-Man, Brand New Day, now playing. Rated PG-13.
There are 3 victims we know of.
The suspect is female, white, late 20s.
Female serial killers.
They kill for power, control.
Why is she telling us who's next?
You have no idea who you're dealing with.
I've been waiting for you.
Welcome back, everyone, to ABC News Live. Special coverage of the midterms on this primary night. Results continue to come in. Let's bring you some of the very latest. In Kansas, ABC News can project that Republican Ty Masterson, the president of the state Senate, will win the Republican nomination for governor. On the Democratic side, the race still too close to call. The current governor, Democrat Laura Kelly, is term limited and cannot run for a third term. In the Senate, ABC News projects that Roger Marshall, the incumbent, will move on to the general election. He'll face Democrat Adam Hamilton, a moderate Methodist pastor, in November. And in Michigan, that Democratic Senate primary still too close to call. And John, we don't spend a lot of time talking about Kansas, but they actually have not had a Democrat go to the Senate in 100 years. Any chance that
there's always a chance there, right? And look, Donald Trump won this state by 16 points. So, Roger Marshall, the incumbent Republican senator, isn't really fearful of this. But let me tell you, Democrats are excited about their now nominee. Adam Hamilton is an interesting guy. He's a preacher. He's United Methodist Church. It is the nation's founding pastor of the nation's largest United Methodist Church, and he's got a reputation as somebody who is charismatic, a little hard to pigeonhole into a political ideology, and somebody who is a newcomer to politics. Which, if you're trying to break a run where the politicians have lost consistently in your party for 100 years from Kansas, having an outsider come in, a pastor, might not be a bad way to try to break the jam. Break the logjam.
I do feel like we're seeing this emergence of the religious left, right? Not just Adam Hamilton, but also if you look at James Talrico, you look at Sarah Trone Garrett, she's a House candidate in Iowa. You have these candidates that are speaking candidly about their faith in a way that appeals to a different kind of voter than we have seen Democrats try to reach in the past.
All right, Rick, let's go back to the big boards. 22%. We're getting there. We're almost at a quarter of the vote there in Michigan.
Yeah, and one of the differences we saw is another big chunk of vote in Oakland County. As I mentioned earlier, the Haley Stevens home base. Her edge there is now about 3,000 votes. But again, I want to contrast that to neighboring Washtenaw County, where Al Sayed is continuing to romp with that 18,000 vote edge. Look at that. We're still seeing about a 22,000 vote difference. He can account for basically all of that out of that one county. Even if Stevens runs even everywhere else, it's not going to be enough. I'm also keeping an eye on Macomb County. Now, this is a particular battleground that's known in presidential elections. It's home traditionally to the so-called Reagan Democrats. That really should be Haley Stevens type voters. Those are the type of voters that she wants to bring back to the Democratic Party. So far, small amount of vote, only about 13% in that county, but based on the early vote totals, Al Sayed building up a pretty comfy margin there. That's got to be a worrisome sign for Haley Stevens as well. But the big dog remains Wayne County, where there's just nothing in. And I know our team is going to be very cautious in making any kind of projection until you see that, just because it is so huge. It is so large. But basically anywhere else in the state that I've had my eye on, Al Sayed is either hitting his numbers or exceeding them. Grand Rapids area, Kent County, another area that you might think Stevens would be pretty competitive in, but they've had kind of an anti-establishment fervor in the past. And Al Sayed able to net a couple thousand votes out of that so far as well.
And Avery, no surprise here that Al Sayed is leading for this primary night, but there has been a lot of concern about his electability come the general election. You asked him about that, and how did he respond?
He thinks that he can build a coalition that can win statewide. He believes that he can bring back voters that either did not turn out in 2024 or went away from the Democratic Party. We saw Rick talk earlier about the rightward shift that we saw of voters in the state of Michigan. Take a listen to what he had to say.
Back the voters we lost in 2024, and I can build a coalition that includes young people who actually want to be in the politics again. So if you're doing the math and you're watching this campaign and you're looking at who you want to be on that debate stage with Mike Rogers, I think there's one answer.
But I do think it remains to be seen whether or not he's going to be able to appeal to more moderate voters and independent voters that may be skeptical of him. I mean, you have even Mike Rogers explicitly saying that he believes that if Abdul al-Sayed wins tonight, that the GOP has a better chance in November. And that's an opinion shared by those within the Democratic Party as well.
I think we have Jay O'Brien back. And Jay, a little while ago, we were speculating that al-Sayed's team is feeling pretty good about the numbers that are coming in.
Yeah, he is. We've talked to some of those in the al-Sayed camp, and they feel good about some of the early vote that came in, some of the headwinds that they've been making in areas in and around here in Detroit. We were snaking our way through the crowd here just moments ago, Linsey, and we ran into left-wing streamer Hassan Piker, who threw his weight fully behind Abdul al-Sayed. He's very popular, particularly amongst progressive youth. And he said to me that he believes that there is a cadre of voters out there, that there is this groundswell of underheard and under-tapped into progressive voters out there who threw their weight behind Abdul al-Sayed because they feel that the Democratic Party has not been hearing them, has not been listening to them. I asked him, if Abdul al-Sayed wins tonight, does it put the Democratic establishment, and particularly the party leaders, on notice because they came out so heavily against him and endorsed Haley Stevens in this race? And what Hassan Piker told me is he believes the party leaders, in his words, are already on notice because they have seen, in his view, this groundswell of grassroots progressive support. They've seen these DSA candidates pick up headwinds in places like New York and Colorado. They've seen these candidates already position themselves to be a voice in the Democratic caucus if Democrats do indeed take back control of the House. And if Abdul al-Sayed clinches this tonight, it will just be one more example, Hassan Piker says, of the fact that Democratic leaders need to take this section of the party, in his view, more seriously.
Lots of energy, certainly, in that room. Jay, thank you. I want to bring back in ABC News political contributor Danielle Alvarez. Danielle, any surprises on your end so far tonight?
No, not surprised at all. I mean, obviously, the biggest race tonight is going to be that Democrat primary in Michigan. Again, it's a civil war happening in the Democrat Party between the establishment of the Democrat Party, the Chuck Schumer endorsed candidate in the Democrat Party, and the Bernie Sanders AOC endorsed candidate of the Democrat Party. That's really the telling story this evening. And really, for me, in the Democrat primaries has been the telling story. Of course, I don't believe that will play out in Democrats' favor come the general election. I don't think that they're the right candidates to get across the finish line once you take into consideration moderate voters, once you take into consideration independent voters. Really, the electorate looks so different in a primary than it does in a general election. I think that is to Republicans' favor. But of course, we will soon see.
We will. And come tomorrow, once we've cleared the hurdle of these primaries, what will you be watching most closely heading into the midterms?
Well, I'm from the Sunshine State, so we still have a Florida primary at hand. Of course, Florida has become a lot more red than it was in prior elections. But heading into the general election, I'm looking at a few things. Number one, the general election map, in order to capture a majority in the House, has really narrowed, of course, as a result of redistricting throughout the country. There are no longer waves, red or blue, that are possible. The math is just not there for that to happen. So there is a narrow 2 dozen seats that Republicans and Democrats will be fighting for. And of course, I look at money and I look at fundraising and the way that candidates are performing. Of course, the president has bragged about having a $1 billion war chest. We know that the Republican National Committee has about $130 million cash on hand for the first time in a very long time, outpacing Democrats. But then I also look at the polling. Republicans are performing very well. But of course, that outlier, that issue of Iran, is certainly the one that I am looking for. I really want the Republican Party and the president to be able to resolve that. We see that voters really want a solution to the Iranian conflict, but unfortunately, the Iranian regime is run by a bunch of psychopaths, but certainly want to see that resolved, both globally, but of course for the midterms.
I think that's one thing that everyone can agree on. Okay, thank you so much. I want to bring back in ABC News political contributor Faz Shakir, who's been tracking the results with us all night. Faz, you talked about energizing the party. We're already seeing a big voter turnout in early and absentee voting in Michigan. What are you making of that?
few things, Lindsay. One is when you look at the counties that Abdul is doing well in, they portend well for the general election. So if you take a Saginaw or Macomb, very swingy counties, doing very well as compared to Haley Stevens. So he's going to need that coalition. The second thing I would note is when you look at Will Lawrence doing well as a congressional candidate in the Democratic primary in Lansing. One thing to remember is that right now, kids are not in school. Right. So when you look at some of these turnouts, and I suspect Abdul is going to do very well and Will Lawrence is going to do very well with young people, when you get into the general election, Michigan State, University of Michigan, Western Michigan, they're all going to be in school, and you're going to have thousands and thousands of more voters voting in the general election. And so when you look at those margins that I think Abdul and Will are going to win by, it tells you something about the potential coalition for them in the general election.
If progressive candidates like Abdul El-Sayed can turn grassroots energies into real wins in battleground states, does that change the Democratic playbook? And where should we watch next to see if the movement has staying power?
Well, next week, we're 1 week away, Lindsay, from a few more primary contests. So next week, we're going to be looking in Minnesota, where Bernie endorsed candidate Peggy Flanagan is taking on Congresswoman Angie Craig to see who is going to win the Senate contest there. It's another microcosm of this situation in Michigan, where Angie Craig has received a ton of support from outside spending and has been the one who's gotten the most independent expenditure support. Peggy Flanagan, like Abdul, building a grassroots coalition, I suspect is going to win. Hopefully, if Abdul wins tonight, I think it will help Peggy's momentum as well. I think she'll win there. And then you got two progressive candidates winning in side-by-side states there. So that's one. And then Wisconsin is also next week. And of course, you've got a DSA candidate running for governor there. You also have a Bernie-endorsed person in Rebecca Cook running in western Wisconsin for the right and opportunity to take on Derek Van Orden, which is an important congressional race if we're thinking about how Democrats can get back the House.
Faz Shakir, really appreciate you joining us once again. And Rick, I know you've been eyeballing Congressional District 7, which Republicans have to be really paying attention to tonight.
Yeah, you just heard Faz talk about the Will Lawrence and the strength of his campaign. A little more than a third of the vote. It's being split three ways. This is Lansing, East Lansing, where Michigan State University is. It has swung back and forth each of the last couple elections. Republicans narrowly won it 2 years ago when Donald Trump was on the ballot. But one of the reasons the Democrats are worried about this is that if you add up the Brink and Masdam numbers, you see they would be winning by a lot. And let me tell you something about those candidates. Bridget Brink and Matt Masdam have about the most impressive resumes you can imagine for someone running for Congress. Brink was the former ambassador to Ukraine, serious national security experience. Masdam was a Navy SEAL who actually carried the nuclear football for President Obama. I mean, these are just dream candidates, but neither of them got out of the race. They appear to be splitting up the establishment vote. And as things stand now, with about a third of the vote in that district, Will Lawrence is coming out on top. Now, is that good or bad for Democrats? We'll only know in the fall, but I know a lot of establishment Democrats who saw Bridget Brink, they saw Matt Masdam, they said, wow, either one of these people would be incredible members of Congress. They would probably be among the easiest winners in a swingy environment. We don't know about Will Lawrence. Maybe they're going to have to support him if he's the nominee, but it is a much bigger question mark.
And Bernie Sanders backing those.
That's exactly right. The progressives got behind him, and there was a bigger split on the establishment side between two very good candidates.
And they couldn't clear the field. I mean, in some of these other races, they've tried to narrow it down, which is what they did to clear, for Haley Stevens to be the kind of establishment alternative to El-Sayed. But look, this is a very interesting race. First of all, Lawrence probably would be nowhere without the Bernie Sanders endorsement. I mean, Bernie Sanders went in, and why did he go in? Lawrence is a guy who is part of what was called the Sunrise Movement, a real environmental activist, and he turned the issue of data centers into a defining issue for his campaign and the environmental impact. And that's how he brought in that support from Bernie Sanders. But you talk to Democratic operatives who are very much working on retaking the House, and they're very concerned that this is a case where they had two dream candidates who split the votes against a candidate who they think might not be a fit for that district. Remember, this is Alyssa Slotkin's district. She was somebody who won that seat with her national security credentials. She's a veteran, a moderate, pro, tough on national security. Very different profile to Lawrence.
And as we've been talking about this battle for the soul of America, let's look, and the civil war basically in the Democratic Party, let's look at the Democratic Socialists, people who have identified, self-identified that way on the ballot.
Yeah, starting just with notable progressives who've won primaries this year. So a lot of them are newcomers to politics. And there were some surprises. But look at that. New York, Colorado, that's the Denver area, very safe blue territory. If you just zone in on the self-declared Democratic Socialists, and again, Abdul al-Sayed is not one of them. He'll say he is not a socialist. But among those who call themselves socialists, you've had a number of interesting primary wins, including Rashida Tlaib, an incumbent, winning today. We know AOC has already won her race. Most of them are safe territory, though, once again. But then when you start talking about a Wisconsin, the gubernatorial candidate, when you start talking about these Missouri districts, this Michigan district, we just mentioned Will Lawrence, it becomes just a bit of a question mark. And if you look at who's lined up in this big Michigan race that we're paying attention to, this is the heavyweights of the party, both ends of it. The AOC, Bernie Sanders, Elizabeth Warren, all on board for Abdul al-Sayed very vocally. So, meanwhile, Haley Stevens, Gary Peters, he's the outgoing senator that they're trying to replace. Gretchen Whitmer, the popular two-term governor who's leaving office this year. People like Jim Clyburn from the Congressional Black Caucus, an icon in Democratic politics. They have all lined up behind Haley Stevens because they think she is the right choice and the right choice to actually win an election.
And Avery, it seemed like at one point there was kind of the downfall of the squad, but now the pendulum swinging back in equal and opposite directions with progressives making a comeback.
Progressives definitely are making a comeback. And, it'll be interesting to see exactly what happens tonight in that Democratic Senate primary. In terms of party unity, you can't forget that Michigan is the place that birthed the uncommitted movement in 2024, that laid bare some of the deep divisions within the Democratic Party that arguably hurt Kamala Harris's efforts to win Michigan in that presidential election. And so what happens here after tonight? If Abdul al-Sayed takes it, does Haley Stevens endorse? Do the establishment Democrats that endorse Haley Stevens, do they come to support and coalesce around Abdul al-Sayed? If Haley Stevens wins, does Abdul al-Sayed have his followers and the movement that he has created? Does he usher in that support for Haley Stevens? I think that remains to be seen, and that's going to be really important as we approach November.
And have you gotten any sense that Stevens and al-Sayed are going to be willing to come together?
Stevens has indicated that she would support al-Sayed, but we haven't gotten any indication the other way around. And so that will be a really big deal. We have seen so much enthusiasm for Abdul al-Sayed on the ground. And when I talk to folks within al-Sayed's campaign, they are really excited by the amount of turnout that they see. They think that translates to support for him tonight.
Let's remember, al-Sayed called Haley Stevens the least capable candidate in America.
So you think it's unlikely? Is that what you're saying?
Kind of a tough
It's going to be unlikely that they're going to be mending fences. You were just taking a look at something interesting on the board here as well, Rick.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the House districts in the Democratic primaries, and just to highlight the 13th district, this is an opportunity for an upset. From the left. And this is an interesting district because it's historically a majority black district, and it's been represented for the last couple of terms by someone who is not black. Someone of Indian American descent. But there's been attempts, and Avery, I know, has been covering a lot of this, there's been attempts to try to defeat Sri Thanadar in the past, and this is a very small amount of votes, so I don't want to make any conclusions whatsoever on this. But again, another example of Democrat on Democrat violence. They're spending a lot of time and energy trying to work out some of the divisions that exist inside the party still.
And go ahead.
Oh, I'll just say that this district is anchored in Detroit's east side, a predominantly black community. And this is the seat that used to be held by John Conyers. And so there is deep history here in terms of black representation in the state of Detroit, in the city of Detroit. And Sri has self-funded. He has dumped millions of his own money into this race. And so Donovan McKinney, he is a son of this district. He represents this district in the state legislature. And so he is hoping to be able to bring black representation back to Detroit.
And he's a member of the Democratic Socialists and endorsed by Bernie Sanders as well. Yes. So again, adding to that list, a safe Democratic seat, no doubt. And again, we don't have a lot of data in yet, but again, there's a lot of this tension playing out against hardcore Democrats. There's these Democrats against Democrats.
And if we go back to the tension mention of the war in Iran, and many today, at least on Wall Street, seem to think that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be back open and perhaps a deal is going to be made. But when you were on the ground in Michigan, were people talking about the war and as a result, gas prices?
You know, typically, when you think about foreign policy and midterm elections, that doesn't necessarily weigh really heavily into how people consider who they're going to cast their ballots for. This time around, that is very different because there are very clear implications for what's happening abroad, happening here at home. And people point to the gas prices. They point to the higher cost of everything from groceries to health care to everything. I mean, folks are really trying to make ends meet. And the issue around the spending that's happening in Iran is something that I heard from many voters many times over.
And Rachel Scott, if you're available, I want to bring you back in because obviously we touched on this a little earlier, but President Trump won Michigan in 2016, won it again in 2024. But how have the dynamics really changed since then?
Oh, the dynamics have changed quite significantly. First, when we're just talking about the politics, right, and President Trump's own policies, whether that's trade or whether that's this war in the Middle East with Iran. Yes, foreign policy definitely not top of mind a lot of times when you have voters rank their top issues, but the economy is. And these are two policies that the president has moved forward with now for months that are directly impacting people's pocketbooks. And when the president was there in Michigan, when he was talking to his supporters, he talked a lot about, the war. He touched a little bit on the economy, but he didn't really zero in on it. He just essentially said that things are going to get better, and he has defended his policies when it comes to both foreign policy, but also his trade policy as well. And so that is one big thing that I'm going to be watching. So yes, the policy end, but then also in the counties. And I've been fascinated by all the work that Rick is doing tonight on the big board and just looking at how much these counties have changed, especially given President Trump now, who has run for office 3 times, right? We have a lot of data that we can sort of look at when it comes to the president and his campaigns. And one area in Michigan that I went to a lot was Saginaw. The president campaigned a lot there when I think about his reelection in 2020. And that is an area that we have seen the dynamic shift as well. There was a state Senate race just a few months ago where a Democrat won by about 20 points in an area that Vice President Kamala Harris edged out President Trump at the time by about 1 percentage point. And so Democrats look at those shifting narratives, right? And they see good signs for them. The question now is, what will Mike Rogers do if ultimately he's presumably the Republican nominee in this race, but how will he campaign? If he will have any separation with President Trump on these key issues, because he will certainly face a lot of questions about it, not only from voters, but also presumably in the debates ahead as well, too, Lindsay.
But can we... Oh, go ahead, John.
I'm saying that it's such a great point that Rachel makes, is that, first of all, Michigan, look, Trump campaigned in all the battleground states. He fought hard in all of them. This state is the place that in all 3 times he ran, his last campaign of the 2016 election, the 2020 election, the 2024 election was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. This is the state. He wanted to change them from not Reagan Democrats, Trump Republicans, Trump Democrats. This is the Trump state. And, many of those policies, as we talked about with tariffs, were in many ways targeted at Trump voters in Michigan. And now, a lot of those voters are feeling pain because of those Trump policies. The war, the tariffs. And Mike Rogers is going to face a very interesting dilemma about how closely to embrace Trump. On one hand, he's going to need to motivate those Trump Republicans, and there are a lot of them in Michigan, but that's not going to be enough. That's not going to be enough for him to win this Senate race. He's going to need to win over people that are unhappy, that feel that Trump has betrayed what he promised.
I think that there was a sense going into tonight that the headline was that this was going to be a litmus test, really, if al-Sayed was going to be able to win the primary. Of course, more to be still determined ultimately with the general election. But if al-Sayed does win tonight, what does that tell us about the state of the Democratic Party?
I think it is an argument between economic populism and democratic pragmatism, right? Haley Stevens has talked about being the experienced leader that can get the job done. But the vibes that people are looking for, people want somebody who's a little bit more aggressive. And so that's what we've heard from voters on the ground in Michigan. And that is some of what Abdul al-Sayed is trying to offer. So I know it remains to be seen exactly what happens here tonight. And we see that Abdul al-Sayed is up with quite a bit of the vote outstanding, but it will definitely be something that many Democrats, progressives, will be pointing to tomorrow.
Okay, I want to go back out in the field to get final thoughts. Jay O'Brien, I know you're still there at the headquarters for al-Sayed. I imagine still a lot of energy and electric excitement in the room.
Yeah, there is, Lindsay. Confidence, energy. They feel good about their chances. And they also feel a number of voters, both in this room and across the state, who support al-Sayed have told me that they feel, regardless of the outcome tonight, that they have made their voices heard in a way that they believe they have not before. The question is, does that raw and palpable political energy actually result in political power? Does it result in another progressive firebrand joining the Senate in Abdul al-Sayed? Does it result in actual governing power of DSA-backed candidates if and when they get into the House, joining together and actually making legislative change? That's the question that's really going to hang over these DSA-backed and DSA-adjacent candidates over the course of these midterms.
Rachel Scott, I want to bring you in here for your final thought.
Final thought here is going to be how much these Republican candidates heading into the midterms are going to be separating themselves from President Trump on anything, but especially on the war in the Middle East. And I'm looking directly at Mike Rogers.
John, Carl, I'm looking directly at you.
My final thought is on this electability issue, which Haley Stevens and her supporters have made central to the race. Saying that al-Sayed is not electable. She's the more electable candidate. Well, one way you prove you're electable is you win an election. So, if al-Sayed, if the trends stay and he wins and wins pretty big, I think he's taken one step towards disproving that argument against him.
Final thought?
Ditto.
Yeah, and to that point, you have to win in places where you have to win, where battlegrounds happen, not just in Ann Arbor, but look at Macomb County, Grand Rapids, Holden, Gerald Ford. Those are counties that al-Sayed right now is claiming so far tonight.
All right, Rick Klein, Avery, John, thank you so much. Also, Rachel and Jay in the field. That is your voice, your vote coverage for the hour. Up next is World News Tonight with David Muir. I'll be back at 10:30 with more election results. Hope you'll join us then.
Gird your loins.
You got it, dude.
Set your mind to rewind with throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu.
Oh, snap, sweet niblets.
Celebrate the good times.
Picture this. Sicily. Sing to me, Paolo. Freedom!
Remember the best lines.
You're nasty. You jump, I jump, Jack. Honey, you never looked better.
Then, now, and always.
The best of both. You know the best of both.
That's all.
All your favorite throwbacks from Disney Plus and Hulu. Now totally streaming.
What's the most honored and awarded streaming news program?
This is ABC News Live Prime. We're tracking several stories breaking this evening. In the flood zone, the painstaking search for the missing continues.
Wherever you stream, Linsey Davis is right there for you.
From Paris, here at the Vatican, from Washington, D.C., here at Notre Dame Cathedral. So impressive.
Newsmaking.
Your testimony was so critical to Epstein's arrest. Do you think that the Epstein files should be released to the public?
Spotlight interviews you'll only see here, exclusive.
Chaos breaks out. Your husband is whisked away. What did that moment feel like for you?
Surprising.
What's next for you all?
More of this. ABC News Live Prime. The hottest stars as you haven't seen, holding nothing back.
That's a really real question you ask.
And always ready to go there.
Many people have said you all are Hollywood's most enduring bromance.
Yeah. It's the Emmy-nominated show you're just gonna love and want more of.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Prime with Linsey Davis.
All right.
Stream ABC News Live Prime wherever you stream.
My friends and I were young and rich. We had it all.
I totally agree.
Then the most magnetic person I'd ever seen walked into our lives.
The new guy likes you.
There's something very wrong with him.
Fox's The Shards, now streaming on Hulu.
It was the worst case I've ever seen. It's the nightmare.
Really disturbing.
The murder of Angie Dodge.
When you have a child that's murdered, life just gets shattered.
Now, step inside the chilling mystery.
What was waiting in that basement? The ultimate clue.
Man, this is it.
Oh yeah, guys, let's do this. Let's go catch a murderer.
Been giving me goosebumps.
A total shock. Follow the clues in this stunning all-new 2020 true crime mystery, The Snare, wherever you listen to podcasts.
America's #1 news, ABC News, now streaming 24/7 on Disney+.
I'm Selena Wang in Beijing for the historic Trump-Xi summit. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're watching ABC News Live.
Tonight, breaking news as we come on the air in the West involving President Trump and an arrest at his golf club in California. Just in tonight, what we're now learning about that man with a gun arrested at President Trump's golf club, where the suspect was found and what was allegedly found in his vehicle. Our team in California with what we know so far. Also breaking at this hour, an arrest in the catastrophic fires, hundreds of homes burning to the ground. And tonight, authorities say the man who started the fires in Washington is a convicted killer. How they found him, and tonight the new images right here, families escaping the flames by boat. Tonight the stock market soaring to record highs on new hopes that the U.S. war in Iran, now in its 6th month. Is there an agreement in sight? What Iran is saying tonight. This evening, the chilling scene. Look at this video appearing to show a Russian drone chasing a man selling vegetables around his van in Ukraine as he tries to escape being hit. Back here in the U.S., the terrified family emerging from the brush on the side of a highway where they were hiding after authorities say they escaped a road rage incident run off the road. The high-stakes primaries we're watching tonight and the closely watched Senate primary in Michigan. It will test the power of progressives versus moderate Democrats. Tonight, that intestinal illness racing across the country and the new reporting. What the CDC is now reportedly set to reveal, this is growing. And the other headline tonight involving Chipotle and what they've now removed in a separate outbreak. Tonight, 7 children in a car, none with a driver's license, and the deadly collision that followed. Tonight, parts of a SpaceX rocket set to slam into the moon in just hours. A well-known UFC fighter dying of an apparent heart attack at just 34 years old in his sleep. Tonight, Bruce Springsteen and what he's now saying about his wife Patty's cancer battle. And America Strong tonight, the wish come true. The 6-year-old signed by an NFL team. And what a play you're about to witness. This is something.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. As we come on the air in the West tonight, we do begin tonight here with breaking news. This evening, authorities revealing a man with a gun was arrested at President Trump's golf club in Palos Verdes, California. The suspect was arrested on Sunday, the president arriving in California tonight. Federal agents reporting a suspicious individual on the property observed walking through the grounds, they say, taking photos and videos, appearing to monitor security activities, according to authorities. Deputies located his vehicle, a loaded pistol. Then in subsequent searches at his home, they found body armor and radio signal devices. That man is now under arrest tonight. And ABC's Kana Whitworth leading us off with late reporting.
Tonight, just as President Trump touched down in Los Angeles, federal authorities announcing the arrest of an armed man at the president's golf course. Officials say plainclothes federal agents reported a suspicious man on Trump National Golf Course in Rancho Palos Verdes Sunday afternoon. Authorities say the man was spotted walking throughout the golf course grounds, taking pictures and videos, and appearing to monitor security planning activities. Deputies responding to the golf course detaining 38-year-old Janine John Taylor, saying they found hollow point bullets in his pockets, locating and searching his